Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is now time for RLAfterShock episode 17, our quintessential weekly podcast for everything that is EU Rocket League and all the EU Rocket League esports stuff. My name is Switchblade J. Joining me is Mr. Digital Bacon through picture format because Discord has decided it's going to shit the bed today, and we can't actually get it working without some proper sort of random solution that uses Skype as like a workaround. It's fucking weird this week. It's just, I don't even know what to say about it, man. But yeah, like, how are you doing in your world of 2D logo goodness?
Doing all right. It's everything seems a little flat around here, but we'll have to stretch things out, I think.
Of course,
that was the worst joke ever.
This is going to be like the worst puns in the world today. But I mean, yeah, what an eventful week for Rocket League has been so far, Bacon. Man, we've had some massive news go down. Obviously, we were doing the qualifiers. Individually, it's also been a really massive week. I know that you've been very, very busy doing Rocket League things over with Rewind, obviously with the Dreamhack stuff. I've been doing it on my own personal channel. But it's been a very, very fun little week. Sorry?
You ditched us. Went rogue, did your own thing. We were there like, oh, okay, we'll just have to.
Right, it earned me a front page fucking shout out on the subreddit. Okay, so don't even say anything.
Oh no, I get that. Like when CJ got in contact with me, it was like, so are you doing both Rewind and your own channel? I was like, yeah. Fuck doing my own channel. I've got Rewind to deal with because I had to do the broadcast for Saturday. So if I didn't do that, Rewind would not have been able to do it. So. Yeah, it was. Well,
I mean, actually, you know, honestly, I was considering after we were done, me and Crafters were done. Like he was going to hop straight back into Rewind and do the broadcast there. I was thinking of just hopping in with him.
You should
close out the broadcast. I probably should have done, honestly. I mean,
we didn't get Craftman like casting a game, but on the desk, because we were doing it a bit like. Remember how we did WSOE a bit? So we were just doing. Everyone chit-chatting in between, so there's no downtime, no breaks. But then the casters had their breaks, when the two casters were casting the match. And I'm really loving that format. Like, I've taken it to the extreme, of course, from when we were working with Daz, to, doing a crew of 5 people now. But I think this could potentially be the best way we do Rocket League casting coming up, because breaks are shite, face it, aren't they? No one wants to just listen to music and look at a blank screen for 5 minutes.
Well, that's what me and Crafters figured out, because we got Shogun hosted us when we were going into our last series of the day, and then we were instantly just like, right, we don't want to lose these viewers quick. Let's just get on stream and start talking and fill for 10 fucking minutes before we get back into the matchup and go into our last one of the day. Overall, I think that the way that we've handled the streams over Dreamhack and WSOE, across the board, has been very, very fun. Honestly, I really enjoyed how we've had things go on so far.
Oh yeah, the response we got from the Dreamhack guys was great. So
yeah.
I don't think community streams for Dreamhack qualifiers are going anywhere soon. I reckon throughout the whole of this year we could see them continue, because it's a really good method for them. Because face it, they don't have to pay any money for these qualifiers, and they're getting good, thousands upon thousands of viewership. It's all win-win for everyone. So expect this to be a running theme.
I'd expect so too. And you know what you also expect to be the running theme every week here in the Rocket League esports space for Europe? News of rosters that seems to be going on as a weekly occurrence.
That was a lame transition. I was just there like, roster swaps, and you were like, news of rosters. And I was like, Jay, you bottled it, buddy.
In all fairness, right? Not all of them are roster swaps per se. Because the first story we're going to start off with on the podcast is actually has to do with Savage. They're not going to make a change, although I have encouraged that they do. They're looking at possibly signing to FC Barcelona. Now, I'm going to have a video pulled up on stream in just a moment's time from a live stream from what's her name again? Was it AB? I can't remember how. I'm
is it Devo's girlfriend or is it Remco's girlfriend? I can't remember.
I think it's Niels Cook's girlfriend, because I'm to be honest. Here's the thing: I don't even know. Right? I don't get into interpersonal relationships.
The only reason I giggle at that, is that she has leaked so many things in the past,
exactly,
and they've all been true. So yeah.
Well, Tractor's going to play the video for you. Unfortunately, the audio doesn't work at the moment. But essentially, talking about was it Bluey's girlfriend or something like that, like as a joke, saying, he wants the edict. And then they go on to say something about, they're going to move towards Barcelona. And then she's like, no, she's not supposed to say that yet. Like, no, but I said Spain.
Yeah, something like that. And it's basically, everyone knows, for those at home that aren't in the know about it, it's LPG. LPE, sorry. Ugh, I'm bacon's dumb. Looking to set up this league coming up soon of Battle Right and Rocket League. And they've got some teams already lined up. You know, you've seen a lot of football teams come into the mix, but we haven't had any significant major pickups. Now, Savage would be a significant major pickup, wouldn't it?
It would be, yeah. And I think that's the main thing right there for FC Barcelona to come forward and do that. I don't think it was Battle Right, though. I think it was Clash Royale, if I recall correctly.
Oh, that's it.
Sorry, I should know this because I was approached. I should know this because I was approached about doing that tournament, and I didn't really want to do Clash
Royale.
We all
were approached, and they were just like, we all went like, so what are your plans for the future? And then suddenly at that point, nothing. And so all us casters, even like I told you about, I was talking to Doomsy, and he was approached to be one of the managers of one of the teams and coach and all of that, and everyone was just there like, yeah, this is cool, but there's nothing solid here. Like it looks very there's a short-term plan but no future plan, which is a little bit worrying for me. Anyway.
Yeah, like the thing about LPE is that I didn't hear much about it until I saw the job listings go up, and I'm not gonna criticize them too much because apparently I might still be in the running to go ahead and go to Barcelona, which is very confusing because I already turned them down once.
They just keep coming back for you.
We want you. No, but seriously, like LPE stuff, like I think it is kind of like a kind of a key point of how significant it will be for Rocket League, just based off of how non-existent it virtually has been so far. So yeah, I think it's going to be great if Savage went to FC Barcelona, because I don't think they want to just compete exclusively in LPE. Like they're an internationally recognized team. They are possibly one of the best in Europe. You know, they are in the RLCS next season, so they've got to have that. And FC Barcelona, that's going to be a massive football club to enter into the Rocket League space, because you got to think of the salaries that Savage are going to get. You got to think about what that's going to bring to the scene overall. But I just wanted to query you on this. What's your impression of Barcelona if this roster move is going to go down? Of course, it probably will.
So Barca, they have their previous venture into esports is alongside G2. So this would be them going on their own for once. I just don't get it personally, because the other teams we've seen signed up are bubble teams. So Savage is well ahead. So Barcelona, I get that. That's cool. I mean, we've got PSG there, so that'd be awesome to go alongside. But if I'm Savage, a whole relocation, that's a lot of commitment. And to be quite frank, from what we've seen with Devo and the Gfinity Elite Series, half the time you can't be asked for that. So why would a move over to Spain? I mean, it's a little bit of independence, don't get me wrong, but it's a complete relocation, and that is a lot of commitment to it. For me, I can't see that being a realistic choice, especially when you're locked in very heavily to LPE's stuff, not into RLCS, which, you know, would be there. And then maybe you might have to miss out on some Dreamhack Pro Circuit coming down, because you've got to do their big tournament because they're all locked into contract for that, you know? For me, this is...
I'm not sure how the exclusivity works with the LPE stuff, because I know that now, obviously we know how exclusive it is from us as casters, because obviously we've already been approached for the job, and we know that it's all like, right, you're moving out to Barcelona, you're only going to do our tournaments, you're only going to do our broadcasts.
That was another thing which made casting for them a little bit weird. It wasn't you're only doing their stuff, you've got to go to them for permission on everything, I think it was, which was a little bit like, okay.
What, including RLAfterShock? Might have to go message them again.
yeah, you might have to.
Might have to let them know. But yeah, no. Yeah, I'm not sure what this, again, I'm not sure how the specific exclusivity works for LPE. I imagine probably LPE would have to take a precedence over all other tournaments, which again, I'm not sure what that means for the grand scale of Rocket League, because LPE are a brand new tournament who we haven't seen much of what they've been able to do. You know, I haven't seen any of their broadcasts so far. I know they've already got talent. You know, like I've said in the past, my boy John Allen, he's already out there. He's working with them. He says that they're a good lot. You know, he's got a relatively good amount of reputability, in my personal opinion. But I haven't seen any of the broadcasts yet. I haven't seen much of what they've been able to offer. I haven't seen. I don't even think they've got a Twitch. Or if they have got a Twitch page, it has not been pushed to the forefront of my thing. I'm actually going to go check this rule. Yeah, they do have a Twitch page, excuse me, but they've not done any broadcasts yet. They haven't publicized any of the specifics of the tournaments or anything like that. So again, I'm a little bit not off put by the way that this whole thing's weighing up, but I'm just approaching this with a bit of skepticism more than anything else.
That's it, because there's nothing been done yet from them previously. They don't really have anyone coming on board as part of their team that is massively reputable. Like you said, John Allen, for me, is actually the biggest member, but he's a caster, so he's not production crew or anything like that. Their set looks decent. Nothing mind-boggling, but very serviceable for what they're doing as well. My biggest problem is no idea about what the prize pool is going to be, how much they're looking to pay their players. No sort of like real solid money talks going on. It's just, this is what we're going to do, and it's like, okay, but how do you plan to pay for that? Are you getting, what are your sponsors? It's the nitty-gritty financials of it which have just been glossed over.
Well, actually, speaking of glossing other things, this is a little detail that our good buddy Joe of Jam just put in the Twitch chat. So this is completely new. This is an official communication. They put this out today, so we weren't even aware of this. LPE are actually delaying their league until. So it was okay. The league was supposed to start tomorrow, but apparently they're delaying it back a little bit further. I'm not sure where it's towards though. So again, this doesn't do anything for the confidence of the Barcelona pickup or the confidence of LPE as a whole,
Yeah, definitely. And this delay further, have they even given a time to when they're delaying this to? Because we knew when we were getting these contracts, it was the end of January, like in the initial talks to us and that. And we were just like, okay, so we've got 2 months to near enough relocate and everything over. And there's no delay date or anything like that. So this to me look like it's a lot of stalling. Because they're unsure, because they don't want to put out a half-assed project, which, don't get me wrong, is good, but it's still very much like everything's up in the air. WSOE ran smoothly in the end. Don't get me wrong, I'm still going to hack on about the whole sign-up time and that sort of thing. They should have announced it a little bit ahead, but the actual running of the tournament was quite good. I'm expecting very much the same from the finals. Let's just, I'm going to give LPE the benefit of doubt. Let them do their own thing. They're new to it and they've got to figure it out. Let's just hope for the best. I don't want to be a cynic to it,
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. We'll see how things play out. I think that's the main thing right there. We'll see how things play out, but I'm going to approach this with a little bit of skepticism. Whether or not this will work out for Barcelona FC, I mean, I'm not sure whether their interest extends further than LPE or whether it goes to the full-blown extent of being involved in Rocket League and esports as a whole. But we'll find out how the whole thing goes down for them. Into more telling news, some more confident news, I guess you could say. I mean, confident is a bit of a subjective word, because if you say confident in the sense that I think of confident, I don't have a whole lot of confidence in this particular roster move. I already mentioned it when we brought the rumor roundup at the very beginning of the year. But obviously, Dignitas have officially announced that they are signing Yukio. They have picked him up. He is going to be replacing the likes of K-Dop, who just moved to Vitality, and he's going to be in this roster now. When we speculated this, you said that you thought it would work really, really well. Now, just to recap, or just to sort of like, just get your thoughts of how they progressed since that point. What do you make of this now? It's actually come down.
Yeah, no, I still think it's a good roster swap. This will be able to keep Dignitas the same level they're at now. Remember, because they're still competing with TSM for that top dog of EU. They're going to be a Dreamhack. They're one of the invited teams going along next month alongside TSM, I do believe. That's why you didn't see them in the open qualifiers and in turn the closed qualifiers of the pro circuit. So in a couple of weeks' time, we'll have the full sort of rundown. Because remember, they're both going to be at WSOE as the invited teams as well this weekend coming. And then 2 weekends after that. When is Dreamhack? Blimey, I can't remember now. When the actual Dreamhack finals, I'm quickly looking it up as we talk. When the main event is going to be, it is the 15th to 17th. It's that weekend, 15th and 16th of February. So how long is that? 4 weeks from now? 3 weeks from this upcoming weekend. That's when we'll finally have a rundown. Okay, did it work? Is Yukio coming on board a good move? I personally think, looking ahead of it, it is Yukio be able to fit in with their style quite nicely. It's going to be a lot more passing orientated and chemistry based than having K-Dop on there. But it can only be good things for me. Dignitas aren't hurt from this move.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't say they're hurt per se, but I'm thinking more in terms of what Yukio's been able to do and the way that he's sort of acted within the context of the within the context of the last team he was part of, Flipside Tactics. And the thing about Flipside is that it took them a very long time for them to find a way for Yukio to fit in. It took a little bit of time for him to come out of his shell in regards to how he interacted with Mystic and Cookseer. And for him,
well, that's not
like
down to Yukio. That's Cookseer and Mystic being pretty awkward in their playstyles.
Yeah, but my thing about it is that what if that's also the same in regards to Violent Panda and Turbo Pulsar, right? Because they are big personalities. Yukio,
who have worked on many different teams beforehand and can flick over. They have been on so many different projects. I think they'll be able to adjust. These lads have been screaming for a little while. I reckon coming into WSOE this coming weekend, people should be careful of them, is pretty much it, because they look like they could be a dominating force. When you look at the others that have gone along, TSM for me is really the top dog to beat, and then you've got Cloud9 and NRG there. Probably more Cloud9 in favor because NRG are a little bit topsy-turvy at the moment. But if we're there looking at like power rankings, for me, TSM 1, and then Dignitas and Cloud9, like a 2-3. Let's just see how it goes on the day.
I
personally think Yukio is going to be a strong addition.
I think he's going to be a strong addition. Again, my problem is how it's going to fit into the team style of Dignitas, right? Again, because it took them a very long time to get Flipside together when it came to Yukio, right? And he's up against some big personalities this time around. I'm not 100% convinced now. Again, I've got to see how this works out on WSOE, which is, of course, coming up later on at the end of this week. So there is... I don't know. Again, for me, there's a lot of skepticism. There's a lot of skepticism in this roster in the same sort of way that I would approach any other roster with any sort of skepticism at all. But this one in particular is something that just doesn't quite fit for me. Again, I was a big believer in the idea that Dignitas needed to buckle down and get themselves together and try and.
What makes you think that Yukio's not going to fit?
Like, again, it's the history of. It's the history of him not being able to perform when he's in a brand new environment. Exactly what happened in Flipside. Took him a very long time for him to fit in. He's with more big personalities, bigger than the likes of.
When he joined Flipside, it wasn't him that was the problem for me. It was Mystic.
It wasn't. No, it was
shit
the team line
from Mystic.
It was the team
just
line.
Him not being able. Like, it's the different flowing game. Turbo and Vine Panda, of course, the captain, he's going to be looking at that and going, okay, how do we make it work with Yukio? And I actually reckon there's not going to be much change there, apart from Turbo and Panda are going to have to focus a lot more on passing plays, which they already had quite a fair amount beforehand.
Yeah, but the thing about it is that how is Yukio going to fit into that manner? Again, it's not my problem. Is not with the player. It's not with it's not with the move itself. It's with the team around it in particular. Because again, I think that Yukio, when he was picked up, would have been he was the big star he was the new star of Flipside back at that point. And then coming into this one, he's sort of like again similar sort of new blood, but just fitting around those personalities, fitting around that team style. I think that's where Dignitas are really going to struggle more than anything else.
No, this for me is good for Dignitas because they got complacent, you see? So that shake-up will revitalize them.
Well, we'll have to see. I think this is an agree to disagree sort of thing. Because again,
this is one of those. Let's see how it plays out, and then we can finally come to a conclusion.
Yeah.
Beforehand, it's all speculation because no one has actually seen them play a tournament or a competitive game.
No, absolutely not. Obviously, there's still a lot of question marks about it. So we'll have to see how that's going to work out. I still have my skepticisms. I'm still thinking I'm going to stick there with my skepticisms. But we'll see how it plays out for Dignitas overall. So next thing, something we can be certain of is the fact that Fnatic are gone, in short. That's the short and thick of this next story. Fnatic have announced that they are dropping their roster from Rocket League.
I so wanted to cut in there. It was like, Fnatic are gone, and I was about to go, but for how long? This is what we were saying. We were talking about Barcelona's to Savage earlier. Fuck Barcelona. Fnatic, pick up these lads. Roken, if you're listening, buddy, just quickly hop on into those DMs. They've said it in that blog post. It should come up on screen now. I don't think it's actually in the tweet, but it's the blog post they link there. They literally say, if you're a top flight team looking to get sponsored and think you're a fit for Fnatic, send us a DM. That to me is pretty much just reaching out into the whole world and going, there is only one top flight EU team, one RLCS team, not actually sponsored at the moment, this is just like sending beams across, going, Savage, fucking DM us right now. We want you.
I mean, I'm not sure it's that direct. I mean, for certain, they do. Fnatic seem like they want an opportunity. They still want to stay in at the.
They just dropped an RLRS team because they went down. They want a high, so that's not high enough for them. There is only one team that is available above that. Like we've talked in private about it. The only other option would be Red Reserve because they've got workings with Fnatic. But this is a fresh team. They're not going to have to do any dealings, you know?
Yeah, I'd say the same sort of thing as well. You know, again, I feel like that is the most obvious move for me. I'm not sure whether it will happen again with everything we've seen for the Barcelona thing. Again, there's still a lot of specifics and unknowns we don't know about as of right now. But you know, let's talk about the roster itself. Obviously, what is the future for Snatsky, Maestro, and Siki? Because they still have that RLRS spot, but do we think we can stay? They can stay in the RLRS. Do we think they can find another organization to represent, or they're just going to go it alone as the three-man unit that they are?
I can see them getting picked up by a new Gfinity org. We already know that Snatsky's on the out, what with the addition of Pondex. I very much doubt that that was Snatsky's option to get changed out. Because Pondex is a great player. He just has to be in the right sort of like scene. The difference of Marquee being replaced with Breezy, we saw how well that did for XL. But XL not sponsoring them. This is more Pondex wanting to get onto a team that could get sponsored, you know, since Niels has just gone, and I wouldn't say he's joined Secret, but it's heavily looking that way, you know, because Complexity's sticking together, or wanting to anyway. So the team's gone their own little ways, and Pondex for me is an upgrade. We'll go on to the whole Dreamhack thing a bit later, of course, the little preview for it now, but I don't see any reason for it to go any other way. And these lads are a Gfinity team. They should get picked up by a Gfinity org next season, which is good, especially since they have the RLRS spot. So they're not paid wages purely for Gfinity Elite Series. They'll be paid for the entire season of RLRS.
And speaking of Gfinity as well, you know, like you also got to consider how many teams don't, or how many organizations in the Elite Series right now don't have rosters. You know, there's the concept that Envy will end up moving out. Probably Epsilon are going to end up moving out. But you still got the likes of Reason, who don't have a proper team, ROG, who don't have a proper team. XL might end up leaving. Hashtag
I wonder
also
if we
don't have
go
a proper
back
team
to
as
an
well.
8-team system in the Elite Series, you know?
That might happen, actually. I probably I can see that happening.
I would love that
bit.
just to have one full group of eight teams instead of these weird little 5-team groups that go on. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'd much rather just a whole 8-team group because it would just function so much nicer.
I mean, yeah. I mean, personally, I'd like to see just every team play each other. I'd rather see that more than I'd see 2 groups.
Then again, like, I'm going to say it. No. Moving on from that, my problem, you know, talking about how lazy Devo is and all of that with Barcelona, then they'd be locked into Gfinity again. Bluey, I'm sure, would love to do it. Alpha is a good kid; he would as well. But then, do they just continuously get third, or does Devo actually finally have to step up his game and stop being a lazy little lad?
Or do Savage make that roster move that we've been speculating and suggesting that probably should happen to take this team to the next level for like the longest time in the world? You know, like we often say, you know, I often
it's not going to happen this season. I can't see Devo leaving this season. Nah. Or Alpha getting picked up by one of the other teams, which I actually would love Alpha to get. Speed, I don't think is the best fit. We've still got a lot of time, but I could see Alpha being moved over to Flipside, and I think that would be a very good change.
Yeah, I mean, Alpha for me is actually a good replacement for Yukio in the Flipside camp, and certainly, you know, he's not necessarily tied down by anything in regards to Savage. You know, they haven't
got no contract. He can fucking go wherever
exactly.
he wants.
There is no contract for Savage right there. So you know, if they don't get if Fnatic don't pick him up, maybe there will be a chance for Alpha to move away, and then that means Savage will lose a massive crux, in my opinion. But that's another story for another day, another speculation that we can talk about later down the line if that ever comes to fruition. But you know, for now. Again, I'm excited to see what Fnatic have to pull out the hat. They've got a few months till the next season of Gfinity Elite Series, or at least not confirmed Elite Series, but like, you know, what we should expect roughly where the Elite Series usually ends up during the year.
Yeah, it's normally starting late March, early April is when it's speculated.
So they have a little bit of time before Elite Series, in theory, in rumor, should kick off.
And ROCS about early March, late February is when you're probably looking at. I'd imagine early March because I know we haven't heard anything yet, but the tournament's coming up in February. It would align and fit a lot better.
Of course, any prospect organizations that want a team right now, the X-Fnatic side is still in the RLRS, so let's see if they can find a home all the same thing. Again, let's find out how things roll with that whole roster move. And finally, on our news piece, we actually want to take a little moment to signal boost a LAN event that we're going to be supporting. Obviously, one of the things I did want to do with Aftershock was to promote smaller tournaments and promote little community things. And this is about as community as it gets when it comes to the UK scene. As Epic LAN have announced today that they have a sponsorship for their Rocket League tournament. Astro are adding £1,000 to the prize pool. And the reason why I want to say about this is because actually, I was taking a look at the numbers for this Epic LAN and how many teams have signed up, and it is kind of low, the Rocket League sign up things. So if anyone's listening to this right now and they want to go to a LAN in the UK, they have the chance to go to a LAN. There's still about a little under 100 tickets left. So if you want to get a chance to go to Kettering, compete, there's £1,000.
I think is like the number. So that's a good number of tickets still left. 71 we're at now. Damn. But if we look at the way the prize pool, there's £1,000 secured. But if we
at base,
if we were able to get that from 4 teams, you got to think up to let's not do anything like major. Let's just say 16 teams are in the tournament because it's a smallish UK LAN. That would be £1,750 up for grabs, plus the Astro gear they're giving away alongside it and free tickets, all that sort of jazz. That's a good whack of money.
I'm actually going to send this to this thing in Tractor. If you want to just check the image dump channel real quick in Discord and see if you can add that little image right there. There's actually a little table of how the prize pool scales as we get more signups, which is why I want to push this, right? Because Epic LAN are a really fucking good LAN, right? They pay out prize pools on the day. I know that a lot of people have problems with prize pools being paid out by some of the bigger tournament organizers. Epic LAN don't do that. Epic LAN are also really cool because it is an esports tournament at the end of the day, but it's also a fucking LAN. It's a community thing. We go out, we chill out, we play games, we commentate events, we have drinks, we get drunk sometimes, very drunk in my case, every fucking time.
It don't take much to get you drunk, buddy. And there you go. You guys at home can see the little breakdown of the prize pool, but it's all basically down to the more teams that get signed up, they can allocate more money in. And I think, for me personally, more teams sign up to this down the line, they'll get bigger sponsors, bigger prize pools. So it's just put the work in now, and then you'll be able to near enough rival Insomnia down the line for a prize pool, and that's good shit.
Yeah, and that's just the money breakdown, by the way. The people who place top seedings and place top in the tournament, they're going to be able to get some Astro swag as well. I think there's actually some headsets up for grabs. So, if you're in the UK,
they're the really good ones as well. The headsets with the little amp thing, they're nuts good. They cost 150, 200 quid as it is each.
Yeah. Well, again, if you're in the UK and you've got some spare time in about 2 weeks' time, it goes from the 7th to the 10th of February. Then make sure you get signed up because there's going to be a lot of fun. Again, we love going to Epic LAN. I love going to Epic LAN. I don't get paid to say that. Legit, I fucking love going to Epic LAN. So make sure you get yourselves down, have some fun, and maybe you can even meet us guys as well. It's going to be great. Me and my. Yeah, epicland.co.uk if you want to sign up and get to meet me with my luscious locks and bacon in his 2D logo goodness. Right.
You realize I'm going to have to just bring along a poster or something and put that in front of me around the day now.
Oh my God, just a little spread of the DB digital bacon thing so you can hello, ladies and gentlemen, I'm here with digital bacon and it's going to be fun. That's right. Well, let's move on to some mailbag stuff. Our first mailbag session of the year. Obviously, if you want to go ahead and join our Discord by typing !Discord in the Twitch chat or by checking the links in the show notes and video descriptions on the audio and video versions of the podcast, you can go ahead and join our little community of EU Rocket League enthusiasts, where there's even a mailbag channel where you can send us questions. We've been able to catch up on a couple of these questions so far, both of which have come from our good old friend Frostbite. Love this guy when he sends in his stuff. And we're going to start with the first question. In regards to WSOE, this was before all the qualifiers came down, so this is a long time ago. But he asks, Richard Lewis mentioned in the past that he wanted a sort of MMA belt with his WSOE events. One of the things he wanted is the following. The winner of the WSOE event will be crowned the champion. After some time, the winner needs to challenge another team and they'll duke it out in a duel. Alternatively, the champion gets challenged by a team for the crown. Do you think this could work or be cool in Rocket League? And I'm going to start with you on this one, Bacon. I want to gauge what you think about the whole title belt sort of system.
I love this idea, but I'd even go to, like, one step further. I would say the first weekend of every single month, the crown champion, like whoever holds the belt, has to face a new sort of like opponent. So there'd be, 12 matches across the year, almost like show matches, really, aren't they? And there's maybe even some little tournament beforehand, like a little invited tournament, to see who gets the chance to go up against them. And you would just keep doing it. And each single show match, you could put a little bit of money on the prize pool for if you've got WSOE holding it, or even getting the likes of, League of Rockets to do that. Just put like a $2,000 show match sort of series on. It's not a massive amount of money. Don't get me wrong, it'll stack up over the years, but the sponsorship and all of that will make up for it easily. And you would just have that keep on rolling throughout the year, so that when it comes to the first Sunday or whatever of each month, everyone's go, oh fuck, the the show match showdown is coming up this weekend. I'm hyped for it, And it could be a nice little side event, and it's not one that would take ages to do. You would just do a best of 7, or maybe even we get the first return of the best of 9s because they've been away for so long. We don't do them anymore. But that sort of really climatic match, that's just a real cool way to start off a month.
Yeah, I think that would work out well. Because the thing about this question is that the reason why
I can see Johnny Boy doing it. That's what I've been trying to hint at, basically.
Well, I think that we should. I think that it would be great if Psionic sponsored it, or some other third-party tournament that said, right, we're going to do a title belt thing. We're going to once every 3 months, we'll figure out a way for that team, that.
If any sponsors listening, we'll do it a rewind. We just need the money. That I would be happy to run something.
Well, personally, when I was thinking about the way that this should work, I'd structure it like a UFC, where it's like you have like a massive event. It's like, right, on this day, it's title belt Sunday, and then we're going to do it in the O2 Arena, or like, I don't know, the Copper Box or some shit like that. And so, right,
have an undercard as well.
Yeah, we'll have an undercard of like lower level, sort of like literally, like I would treat it, pay-per-view Rocket League. I mean, maybe not pay-per-view with actual pay-per-view, because I don't think we're not allowed to do that in under the community guidelines. But do that like that. Like have some like massive matches, like you're suggesting, best of 9, even the rival week stuff. Like you remember when we used to do rival week, and it was like best of 3 of best of 7s, and it was like if you won 2 best of 7s back to back, if you won 2 of the 3 best of 7s, then you would be the overall winner. And you can have matches where it goes anywhere from like 8 games to like scaling up to 21, something stupid like that, like a proper endurance test.
I love the rival weeks. The only problem was if you had sweep matches, like when it came around to the point of like G2 are just so much better than EG last time they did it anyway, and it was just that's why
you book around rivalries. That's why you book around rivalries and world rankings. So that way you wouldn't have like a G2 taking on. Also, you wouldn't have like TSM taking on something like a Mouse Sports. You'd have them taking on a Dignitas. You'd have them taking on someone else.
But that's why the belt sort of thing works, because that's the best team holding on to it. And like I was saying, you have to have like the teams trying to challenge, and you literally just go like, if the whole of RLCS had gone for it and TSM currently holds the belt, you would just go no to everyone apart from Dignitas, because that is statistically the strongest team, so they get the spot. And of course, you do like a winner take all. So Dignitas don't get the money. They sort of get shamed. They're not getting any winnings from it. They're not taking any money home, and they lost. It's sort of like an all or nothing mentality. And when we're talking about undercards, you could literally restrict that to bubble teams, give them the exposure from it. You're not.
Honestly,
they probably wouldn't even play for no money at all. We'd just put in like 150 quid as like a little thank you bit. Again, winner takes all. So that
not even that. Honestly, I would try and see if we can highlight some RLRS talent into LAN. Like that's the reason why I want it to be like a big LAN thing. Because it's like if you have an undercard, it's not just RLCS teams. You can go deep into the EU circuit and deep into the NA circuit, and you can create some really baller matches. And I think if Psyonix brought that on and put that on as like a Psyonix sponsored event, teams would be very interested in that. And that's the other flip side of the coin, in my opinion, is that if anybody else ran it, how interested would they be to fly out for a one-day event? And the reason why it works
flying
in
out
boxing,
for a one-day event, I think that's we're like too far. We're not too far off. Like I could see that happening about like a year and a half, 2 years down the line. But for now, stick to the online bits. But you know, if anyone is listening from Psyonix, just give us a call. We'll get the Sunday showdowns going over on Rewind or something, or even RLAfterShock will do it because we've got the same crew.
We have the attitude to do it. How about that?
Yeah, we'll proper give it the justice it deserves, all the personality. That's what I want.
Oh yeah, no. If we did it, like, you know, I would put some proper effort behind it. Like I would do some seriously good, like, you know, some good stuff with it. So I mean,
can you imagine the like?
We're looking for sponsors.
Get ready to rock it!
No, Bacon. No.
Please.
Never again. Right. Next question, again from Frostbite, comes through. With the recent roster changes, what lineup are you looking forward to seeing the most? Now, I'm going to impose some rules on this one. We are not allowed to state a roster that has not made a change. Otherwise, it'll just be TSM. And we are also, there was another rule that I was going to add.
If you say it has to be a confirmed roster, then we're just dick to like 4 teams, you realise. Because everyone is jumbling at the moment.
No, so that was actually it. Yeah. No non-confirmed rosters. So yeah, it's got to be a move that's currently under wraps. Like, we're probably going to revisit this topic anyway when we do our big RLCS preview show. Like, when it comes up to the new season, like we're gonna be doing a massive thing where it's like, right, we know all the rumors, we know who's here, we know who's not. We're just going to do a massive like analysis bit. So for now, let's just do the confirmed rosters. Who are you looking forward to the most, Bacon?
So again, on that point, the only teams we can mention is Dignitas, Vitality, Mouse, and technically Flipside, because Speed is confirmed on loan for a month. They're your 4 teams, Jay.
I'll let you get away with the Flipside one. Fair enough. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I can see that as well, but like, I want you to zone in on one in particular. What is the lineup, the specific lineup you're looking forward to the most?
So the only one I'm going to say is Flipside, and that's purely to see how much they can grow, how much they can adjust from this weekend, Dreamhack 1, to WSOE next weekend. Like, that is purely it, because I think that would be an interesting change, because going into Dreamhack, they actually did as expected. They didn't do well, I would say, but they came up against PSG. Like, if they were on the opposite side, taking, say, ARG's place or whatever, we'd expect to see them further, but they got stopped by PSG, and that's normally a good little rivalry between the two at these stages anyway, when Yuko was on there. So I just want to see how far they can go next weekend in a very much different setting, you know, like technically the top 8 teams in the world, they could get smashed right at the start, but it's like, how badly did they get smashed?
Yeah, well, for me, I mean, for very similar reasons, actually, I'm going to go with Dignitas. Because, like, you know, it's a case of how have they changed? How are they going to form up around Yukio? And technically, F3 is confirmed. You know, I'm just going to call out Strokes real quick. Because Speed is actually on loan. He's officially on loan from Red Reserve. So, like, all the contracts has been confirmed. So he's playing with Flipside for the next month. At the most. Or I think the
dealings is just that they're covering his wages for the month or something like that. So it's not anything massive, but it's just Red Reserve knowing that. I reckon for them, they know that they don't really have much to do this month coming up, and they can play with Speed during the Renegade Cup because it's not conflicting or anything, and then not having, like, they're saving themselves a good few thousand. To me, it makes good sense, and it should hopefully make Speed a better player with more LAN experience.
Well, again, the reason why I don't want to give too much credence to Flipside is because they were looking, you know, okay. They were looking pretty good throughout the course of the EU qualifier, and the reason why they were looking so good with the EU qualifier is because they had Yukio on that side. And I think that I honestly, you know, no offense to Speed, I love the guy. I've spoken to him many good times, and I love I love him as a player. But I think that in the context of Flipside tactics, I think he's a downgrade. You know, I think that Yukio was a much better fit for them, which is part of the reason why I'm more excited for Dignitas, because, You know, there's that in your argument's sake. Obviously, we were just having a back and forth about it a moment ago, but like to your credit, like, you know, I can see where Dignitas can go right with Yukio. I still have skepticisms, but that's the curiosity part of WSOE coming up this weekend, is the fact that I want to see how far Dignitas can go. I want to see how far Yukio can go. I want to see how this team works up versus Flipside, where I still think it might end up being a weaker team anyway.
I just love it now for Dignitas to just go on and win it all, and you're just there like,
and I'm going to look like a complete idiot.
Yeah. I'll take it. Now,
I'd love it. It would not be the first time.
I would love it absolutely if Chiefs came in, right, and just took it all,
just smashed everybody.
Just smashed
everyone. My God.
No, not even Chiefs. Whichever fucking South American team is coming along. Like, because that's still not even announced. Like, they just literally, it gets announced on the day, and it's like, oh, here are the Brazilian lads, and they just rock up, and like, they're just in some scruffy t-shirts. They don't even have jerseys. Come in and then just pummel everyone. That would just be, don't get me wrong, it'd probably hurt Rocket League as an esport, but just, it would look so beautiful.
Well, right now, like, technically the number one team in South America is called Erodium. I'm just taking a look really quick at the Rocket Street tournaments, and like, they've come like first out of 3 of the 4. So, you know, they have been, you know, they have been relatively good, but again, it's all a case of that international experience. Is that going to be likely? Probably not. But we'll find out. Again, that would be something else if the South American team came out and just won their first international LAN. Like, holy shit. It is the short and thick of that. So, again, let's know what your most, with respect to what lineup you're looking forward to the most is, of course, on our Discord. Again, it's ! Discord in the Twitch chat if you're watching and listening right now. It's in the Discord. It's not in the Discord. It's in the show notes and descriptions of the video and audio versions of the podcast. Right. Let's move on to the tournaments this week because, like I said, it was a massive week for Rocket League. And, of course, there was a lot of stuff going on, not only just the news, not only just the announcements, but also tournaments. We've got the last of the Renegade Cup monthlies finishing up in just this week. And, of course, we have to go for a penultimate week at the start of the playoffs for the Ember Series. Of course, I was covering that. It was a lot of fun. And a lot of things went down. So we'll have a look at this quick bracket real quick. You can see specifically who is where and when and why across the Ember Series playoffs. We've got in the upper bracket, Savage, Weed, Embros, Bilchadam, and the Schnoozers. In the lower bracket, we still have Game Fist 21, Shippers, and ARG. So we've lost a number of teams. We're down to our top 8 for all intents and purposes here, Bacon. So we'll start off real quick with you because I know you haven't been watching a lot of the Renegade Cup this month, but
yeah, just
which of these names stand out to you the most?
So for me, pretty much the guys that are in the top should have it. Savage are the clear favorites, of course. That's easy. I think Bilchadam is a good, strong contestant. The Schnoozers, that's the previous XL squad. So Niels, Cook, Pindex, and Breezy are a good shout for that. And for me, those are the 3 to watch out for. Everyone else can't hold up really. Shippers, Chakron, Oslon, Arju, they haven't been doing that amazing together. They're not looking bad, but we know they're looking at different projects and looking to compete with other people. So this was just purely a 1 month off, so they might not be doing a lot of scrimming and getting to know each other enough to be able to go the whole way. For me personally, I want the sort of beautiful swan song of the Epsilon roster, you know, Bilchadam, so Bilbo, Sebadam, and Shirio, for them to go out on one final note before they break off and go to different projects and different teams themselves. And Schnoozers, same thing can be said for them because, you know, Neil's looking to go to Secret, Pindex to Vikings, and Breezy to wherever he goes. We'll talk about that later. So, in the harshest way possible, Savage should win this, but I want Bilchadam or Schnoozers to take it. Because...
Yeah, I'm more leaning towards the Schnoozers on that front because I know that they can do it. Obviously, you know, we brought it up a couple different times, but when they faced the Neon Dream, they had a really close series against Savage. Like, it was goddamn great. And, you know, I'd love to say there's a good chance, honestly, considering where they lie in this bracket right here, that Savage and the Schnoozers will meet in the winners finals. And that would be very, very fun because that also puts one of those 2 teams in the contention for the grand finals. Now, the Schnoozers are pretty much mostly already set to be in the Renegade Cup finals anyway, so there's still a little bit of a last shout for them. The same for Bilchadam, yes.
They've
obviously
got
the points are secured. They've all got enough points. They're pretty much confirmed already. But wouldn't it be great just to win that extra prize at the very end of it and just be like, all right, boys, we got loads of money. We came top placings and we're going to the Renegade Cup finals, guaranteed. But in the lower bracket as well, we have a couple of different names and a couple of different players and a couple of different positions to take. And I wanted to say, out of these lot, who do you think is the best chance, the best potential underdog, in your opinion?
ARG are looking like hot shit at the moment. We saw them this weekend at Dreamhack. They are able to do some impressive stuff. Like, I'm trying to bring the Dreamhack page right back and see where they got to in the end, but I'm completely flummoxing it all. I've just brought it up.
This is what happens when you come to this unprepared, Bacon.
I was all right. But they got round 2, loses round 4, and dropped to Mousebots. But they're able to take down, on their way, M Motif, the Clappers, and Renault Vitality. For me, those are some good results for the lads, So going into this, when you're locked to the RLRS, where, they seem to be a team that struggle against the RLCS teams. I wonder why. Maybe they're RLCS teams. The Renegade Cup should be good for them, and I could see them go quite far. Their real problem for me would be Savage. The others, they've got a good shoo-in for.
Yeah, Savage obviously being sort of like of that sort of bubble mentality all the same. So like they're pretty confident in taking on the likes of ARG. For me, like again, it's definitely got to be ARG just because of that that Spanish sort of that Spanish concept, that idea of those players being as good as they were, being as good as they are. Stake, Danny, GCR, Clex, those are some really strong Spanish players. And there's a common saying that you often said is that don't count the Spanish guys out. And ARG certainly have been on a hot streak. They have. They went into this tournament and initially they did have a bit of an upset situation in this round of 16, but since then they've gone through the likes of GFG, who are a really good Italian team. They went through Echo Zulu, who are a pretty reputable spot of their own right, and now they're up against the Shippers. I think that match is going to be a bit close though, because the Shippers are also a little bit also quite a lot of experience on their side. You've got Shaka and Ocelot and Arju on that roster. So for ARG, there is potential that they might end up going and falling a little bit short at the same time. But I just want to weigh up your opinion on that real quick.
I think it's definitely, if we see any of the teams that are currently in the lowers get through to the finals, it's either Shippers or ARG. And the problem is that they face each other. I don't know if it's first thing on the stream next week. I'd imagine not. You'd start off next week. I'd say this Wednesday. I'd imagine you'd start off with the upper bracket and then go down to the lowers. But the fact that they're the two I have hope for, and they've got to face off against each other straight away. That's such an unlucky move for them.
Yeah, it really is unlucky. Very, very unlucky. And I think, there has been a couple of different weird points about the way that these whole things have been seeded. For GFG in particular, obviously, they're against the Schnoozers first, and then they faced ARG secondly after that. So there was a little bit of a weird situation in regards to that. And they probably were one of my picks to be a decent dark horse. Unfortunately, it just didn't quite work out the way that it did. So they're going to have to concede on that front. And again, ARG are going to move forward. Again, they are one of the 4 teams that remain in that lower bracket. 21 are also a pretty good shout as well, I think. 21 consisting... Go for it.
I keep losing hope in 21. I love the lads of 21, but they never get the results that I think they should. Maybe my expectations are too high. I don't know, but they just don't get the results that I think they're capable of getting.
Well, that's the thing. I still think they're very capable of doing some good work. I see the potential there. I think it's all going to come down to how well they do against Game Fist. If they do lose against Game Fist, who are the Bim Bam Police side,
and they should be able to beat Game Fist. I'm going to say that, they should be able to.
Actually, to be honest, again, I say that they should be able to, but at the same time, Game Fist have also been a very, very deadly squad, a massive, massive upset team. As of late, they took a game off Echo Zulu. I think they had a couple of different opportunities against, to be honest. Yeah, they actually beat, to be honest, in their losers round 1 match. And I think as well that they've just done some really surprising results over across the rest of the group stages and the qualifiers of the Ember Series and of the rest of the Renegade Cup. So it could be a surprisingly close match, in my opinion.
And to be honest, because you just brought them up, are another team where I'm just there, I think they should be able to get better results than what they do.
Well, I was going to bring them up in a minute in regards to my little teams to highlight. So I don't know if you want to wait for that. If you just want to jump straight into that, I don't know.
We'll just jump straight into it because, like, my problem is that, say, we'll use the Dreamhack qualifiers as my big example of it. They went through in the lowers, so there they should have been in the top end anyway in the winners bracket. They 3-1 Nordvin. That's a good blooming result. But the big Sack Mandem, we will come to them later, but they were playing nuts and brought it really close. But to be honest, always seem to just drop a little bit earlier than what is expected of them. They're very flip-floppy in their results.
Yeah, I can see that. I mean, for to be honest, like they had a bit of a shit situation in regards to the way that they kind of seeded out because Savage were upset in the group stage, if I recall correctly. Either that or it was I can't remember. One of those two teams got upset. So in my opinion, they should have been to be honest versus the other seed of the Savage group, and it didn't quite work out for them. So when it came to coming up against Savage, they obviously didn't really stand much of a chance. And then Game Fist came along, and Game Fist being the upset potential in the bubble scene that they were, like to be honest, just kind of fell to pieces a little bit. You know, it didn't look like it was 100% certain. You know, again, I feel like there's a good roster with a good amount of potential, but it just didn't quite line up on this occasion. You know, and it does kind of suck because you know, Game Fist is a roster. You take a look, it's like right, I don't expect them to be able to do this much. You know, I don't expect them to be able to do. I expect them to go far because obviously Lethal, KO, and Bram, they're all looking really, really good. But against, to be honest, again, I respect and I expect that pedigree caliber or that veteran pedigree to be able to do better, in my opinion.
Yeah, definitely. Looking at how this sort of like bracket, just looking at the Ember Series bracket anyway, to be honest, dropping to Savage, expected. To be honest, dropping to Game Fist, not. And then against the I Got the Part, I think, again, that had been a very 50-50 game. I would have probably put it down to be honest, going ahead. But Game Fist did that, and, you know, that's how the bracket turned out. So going into this, 21, if they drop to Game Fist, I would be quite surprised here. I know Lethal Kill, Vano, and Bram Swaggart are good players, but I still, like I said, maybe I rate 21 too high. That would be my own personal problem, I guess. But I'd expect 21 to be able to go forward, and then they'll get dropped by one of the teams that are currently in the winners bracket. You know, that I think that's where they'll stop.
Yeah, I mean, again, that's my prediction as well. But I'm not going to lean too heavily on 21 at the moment. We'll find out how that works out for them, of course, when the bracket comes to play out. But another team I wanted to highlight that I did have a few problems with in regards to their own performance, obviously, is the Bricks. The Bricks, again, had a bit of an awkward seeding because they were seeded against Bilcherdam, and Bilcherdam were obviously still in the upper bracket. They did have to fight, however, Bilcherdam. Bilcherdam took a bit of a pounding. You know, the Bricks felt like they might have just been able to turn it over. They took it to game 5 after the Bricks had taken a 2-1 lead above them. So, yeah, it was a hard-fought loss, and the Bricks barely held on to it. But I did think the Bilcherdam did look a little bit rough in that series. If I recall correctly, we did have it. Yeah, we had it on stream. So I remember watching it, and I was like, yeah, they don't look 100% right now. But then eventually they got it together, and things didn't look great for the Bricks. I thought they'd make a very good run through the lower bracket. I mean, they were going to go up against the Shippers in the next round, so I wasn't expecting them to go that far. Or maybe, again, I think maybe if they won, it would have been a 3-2 series. But they end up losing to the Bus Drivers. Now, are you aware of the Bus Drivers?
Yeah,
Bacon? Yeah. They've been famous in particular for parking the bus. They were like, 4-1 up, and they literally just put all 3 of their players inside the net, and they just sat down. But yeah, this is Distant and Relating Wave and Sharp, essentially. Distan's a lot. And they actually managed to take this upset victory. I think it was a serious upset, in my opinion. I had a little bit of faith in the chemistry that Relating Wave and Distant had. But at the same time, I did not expect it to go up against the Bricks, who were looking really solid. Like, the free Saxon Wombo combo, like, you know, that sort of like duo really worked well in the group stage. Like, Saxon hit some ridiculous shots. Free set him up for so many chances. Didris was there as a supporting player. It really looked like it was a solid squad. And then they all just sort of capitulated in that lower bracket, you know?
Yeah, like the Bricks, Friss, Saxon, Didris, all players that have lingered around the RS bubble for so long, it would seem, and always like that good. So you rate them highly. I know they were newly formed for the Ember Series, but they played together in and out for so long that you would expect good results. And on the opposite end, the Bus Drivers, Relating Wave, Distant, and Sharp, this for me is their first time sort of like I've seen them playing together. Maybe not Relating Wave and Distan. They've been like an on and off for ages, and they all like play randomly in whichever tournament, you know, is a pickup when they feel like it. But the Bricks should have won this every single day. But I'm going to put it on Distan. He just always gets unexpectedly good results. I'm not saying he's a bad player at all, but it's always these pickup teams he does well with. What was it? Prosper back in the day before the last RLRS, and he'll get in, and you just they're like, how did you win that? I mean, I'm impressed, but how? Like everything was stacked against you in this case, you know?
Yeah, no, absolutely. You know, I mean, and the key thing about it is what was that even for the bus drivers, Distan wasn't even the main performer, in my opinion. I actually have a lot of respect, honestly, after this tournament for Relating Wave because
he's a lad that's got potential to pop off.
He's got a lot of potential. He's got a lot of potential, in my opinion. Like, you know, and especially with the way that Distan was working around him to set him up and give him the chances to score. Like, he scored some ridiculous goals in the matches that we were watching. So I have a lot of faith in what that potential duo could do. But in this case, they couldn't go quite far past the shippers, unfortunately. Again, shippers kind of a bit of
the shippers.
Yeah, it's the shippers. You know, in the end, they are Shaka on Arju and Ocelot. You know, they're a good roster. But you know, and again, initially looking on the surface of it, I wasn't expecting them to go as far as they did against the Bricks. So you know, they are certainly one of the teams that gets my highlights. Unfortunately, the Bricks didn't really have the best of tournaments this time around, and unfortunately, that means that they're also going to be crashing out with no chance at the Renegade Cup finals. So you know, that's just an unfortunate way that whole thing ends for them. But some teams I did want to highlight for more positive reasons. Actually, there are a couple of squads that really surprised me, and I'm going to start off with my boys from I Got the Part. Now, I Got the Part came into this, and I was sitting there like, "There's no way this team's going to do anything." Like, you know, the Reclusian Virus. Who are they? I don't know. I really don't know. And then they came into the round of 16, and they fucking pulled one of the most stupid results I've ever seen in my life. They were down 2-1. They got a 5-2 game 4, and then they went a 3-2 in game number 5 to beat ARG. They beat ARG in the round of 16. I was there like, there's no fucking way this is going to happen, and it just did. It just did. I could not believe my eyes, man. And, you know, they looked really, really solid, you know. They looked really, really good. I got to go extra shout-outs to Reclusi, who pulled some stupid shots off that you never should be able to pull off against a team like ARG, let alone any of the other teams in the top level. Like, you know, there is... Like, I'm really, really... I'm actually like, I'm still kind of shocked. Like, it's been a few days. It's Monday. We had this tournament back on Wednesday. You know, I'm still kind of surprised at how far they went. Like, this team, just fucking hell, man. Just fucking hell.
I Got the Part after their performances in the Ember Series finals. They have cemented themselves as a bubble team to just keep an eye on. I think, like, you can't put them lower than any of the other players anymore because they've just come out. And they've been there like, look, we're worthy of near enough keeping an eye on and making sure that you don't forget about us because we can cause upsets. And it's a good thing. These are growing players, and I'm excited to see how much more they can grow.
Special shout out to the Twitch chat, by the way, on the Ember Series broadcast, who kept creating little fucking copy pastas for the I Got the Part side. It's like, he's the virus you can't get rid of. I'm just like, oh my god, this is fantastic. This is absolutely fantastic. He's clean. He's a Scottish lad. Like, oh man, it was so much fun just watching the Twitch chat scroll by every time they scored a goal. That's another big one for me as
well, is that I want them to get like picked up by a UK esports org, like say Barrage or whatever, and go to the UK LAN events.
I mean, fuck it. You know what? If you guys got 70 quid to spare, come down Epic in 2 weeks' time. Like, why not? Just do it.
Today. Yeah, sure, go.
Just do it, man. Like, it would be quite fun, honestly, if I Got the Part came to Epic LAN. So, I know Virus is in chat. I think Clean is also in chat as well. But make your tickets. There's still 70 left to come down. But yeah, no, I Got the Part on the international scene, especially like it's for this bubbles level. I'm genuinely surprised. I'm pleasantly surprised at how that whole thing went down. I'm pleasantly surprised to say that they are one of my teams that I'm very, very I think were overall winners of this bracket. They overperformed. I thought they were going to go out in round 1 of the losers bracket. They went out in round 2, but still, for me, considering the teams that they went up against, considering the fact that they also went out at 3-2 against Game Fist. Not terrible at all.
They didn't get an easy draw, so they've done well.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. They got one of the worst draws in the entire bracket, in my opinion.
Like I said, if they didn't lose the Game Fist, we would have been expecting them. Sorry, if they didn't have Game Fist there, it would have been, to be honest, that we would have expected, and you would have counted them out on that as well. So for them to get that close as well, like I said, impressive, and I'm excited to see where they can go from here.
Yeah, well, and the other team that I think, in my opinion, got the second worst draw in the entire bracket was probably Swedish Muzzikuck, who, again, did kind of overperform a little bit. This team consisted of Nyx, Meaty, and Mug. Did lose out in the first round of the round of 16, and they did make it also to the round 2 before they got shut down by 21. But along the way, they actually managed to beat Childish Gambim, which is Tedder, Caro, and Junior. Now, I did weigh up this roster and think to myself, it's not the best roster in the world. It's not 100% the greatest. You know, they have got some teams, and they are part of some teams that didn't really do that well in the Elite Series, and some of them weren't even main staple parts of the roster. So, you know, I was looking at this like there's a point where this is going to break down. I thought that they would go much further, though. I thought they'd be like, right, we're going to face up against the Schnoozers, or we're going to face up against Biltradam, and that's when we're going to capitulate. But they capitulated to Swedish Muzzikuck. Again, some players who I've never heard of. Nyx, really? Meaty, and Mug. We went. I think Mug I may have heard of, or Meaty I may have heard of. But, you know, we were going into this, and like our notes on comparisons when we were speaking to Fuzz, speaking to Jam, we were like comparing notes and bits and pieces about how that whole thing weighed up. We didn't expect them to go much further than, again, round 1 of the losers bracket, but they managed to surprise.
Nah, quite easily expected that from those three. Childish Gambim Bam, that roster don't work together. Like, I don't know what they think. We'll go on to this later, but Junior just needs to be on an all-out aggressive team and just hammer away the attack and forget about defense. Tadar needs to go on a team where he can have 2 attackers on that. No, not even 2 attackers, where you've got a hinge player, a bit like Excel with Pondex, and like where he would replace Niels in that regard, where you would have 2 hinge players that can either play that attacking role or go defense, and you sort of decide it on the day, depending on field. And Caro, I liked him in Rescue Wales. I just don't know where he can go from here, because that's a more interesting case. But this trio, for me, just doesn't work. We've seen them in tournaments before, like old G-Finties and that, and I don't know why they keep going together, because for me, it's almost like they're trying to force it because they're good friends, you know?
Yeah, I can see that as well, honestly. You know, again, I think that Childish Gambim Bam, again, I was expecting him to go ahead and fall down, like, probably maybe at the top 8, but I wasn't expecting him. I feel like maybe that they could have gone a bit further. There was a lot of upset potential against this squad, but I didn't expect also Swedish Muzzikuck to be the team that came forward and did that, to be honest. Like, if they drew against the Game Fist, okay, I could have expected that. If they drew against the Bus Drivers, okay, maybe I could have expected that. But again, if they drew against I Got the Part or Swedish Muzzikuck or anybody else for that matter, again, I don't really know. Again, if it was anybody other than that we didn't know of, like hell, even Echo Zulu, I probably would have said I would have expected that, but not against Swedish Muzzikuck. So, you know, credit to them to be able to do that. I think they're probably one of the team to highlight. Again, they didn't quite make it as far. They're not going to be able to be seen anymore because they did draw against 21 next, and of course, in the lower bracket, that's how that's going to go down. So they didn't make it much farther. But again, they're one of my teams to highlight. In my personal opinion, I think one of the overperformers in the overall bracket.
Yeah, okay. I'll allow that. But yeah, Swedish Muzzikuck, 3 players. Like, I was a little bit surprised that you weren't expecting anything from them because Nyx, Meaty, and Mug have been around for a while.
Okay, I was asking if there's something I've missed because, like, I don't remember. Because I didn't remember. Like, in my research, I didn't really find a whole lot on those 3 players. Like, no,
not even them just like wrecking the old community cups, that sort of thing.
Well, other than the community cups, I'm talking about something recent and significant. You know, other than doing, you know, again, trying to see if I was trying to see if they did anything in Renegade monthlies. Didn't quite happen. So, you know, maybe I'll drop the ball on that one. But either way, credit to them again, making it to round 2, and I expect them to go out in round 1. So. Let's move on from the Renegade Cup, the Ember Series, and move on to the big tournament that's happened this weekend, the Dreamhack Pro Circuit European Closed Qualifiers, or the Open Qualifiers. We decided to ditch that because nothing really major happened, and you can see exactly what went down on your screens Complexity took the upper bracket against Team Secret 3-1 to make it through to the Leipzig LAN in the lower bracket. Meanwhile, Secret beat out Red Reserve to come forward and take the second spot. Now, that's just the run-out of things. Obviously, you can see exactly how the whole bracket's played out. So we're going to try and talk a few different topics because there's a lot of teams and a lot of moments and a lot of surprises that went down. So let's start with the obvious two. Complexity with Flakes, their new sub, their new boy, bringing them out from the bubble scene. I was saying last week or the week before when we talked about the move away from Complexity, like there was a lot of uncertainty about this roster. Holy shit, this is a massive, massive lifesaver for this team.
Yeah, so Flakes was brought in only 3 hours before signups closed, and I would have never expected this move. You know, like this was clearly them just trying to pick up someone last minute and say, oh, we'll just have a run at the tournament, see how it goes. Like, they're still considering how Complexity goes forward. And Flakes and me, I wouldn't have thought he'd be the link up, goal scoring everywhere on the goddamn pitch, god that he was during this tournament. And he somehow pulled the team together of Magnus and Greasy, which I thought was a horrible combination, and made it look so damn good and solid. He went throughout the entire tournament. Flakes was the MVP of the Dreamhack qualifiers. There is no doubt about it. He was continuously MVP of his team, MVP of the overall winning team. He's got to be the overall tournament MVP in my eyes. And Flakes, I don't know how lucky he got just purely from Magnus to pick him out of the hat essentially a couple hours beforehand. But dear God, dude, this is finally his big break, and I've been wanting it for so long for him.
Yeah, again, it's absolutely massive for Complexity because they dropped a total of 3 games in their entire upper bracket run. Damn. They played 4 series. This was an incredible run. Like, it was absolutely massive. Like I said, it's a lifesaver because Complexity is the organization, the squad themselves. Every analyst I know, every commentator I know, have lost all sorts of faith in Complexity. So having them come up here, go through the upper bracket in the way that they did, and again have Flakes be the man to keep them together, like, that's a massive lifesaver and a massive result for Complexity. Like, you know, no one was saying, right, these guys are going to be moving forward. These guys are going to be doing great things. I didn't even think anyone was saying, right, these guys are going to get promoted next season. That everyone was saying this is just going to go even further down from here. They're either going to disband or they're going to relegate, and then that'll be the end of it. There you go, GG Complexity.
I just love it so much because this, just talking about Flakes anyway, keeping on that point, this was the lad that would go by the name Porn Flakes. Literally, I can remember you during one of the community cups calling him Pone Flakes, and it was just always a case of, dude, get your shit together, remove that from your name, because no team is going to want to pick you up because, you know, Complexity ain't going to want that on their name and all of that. He finally drops the name and things start happening from it. It's like all the planets aligned at the right time. And just as a long-time community like fan, it's so good. It is so damn good.
It
Especially,
is. It is.
And we're not losing Complexity, hopefully. If this team does another run, not even at Dreamhack, but into RLRS, we're not losing a tier 1 esports org, which is fan-fucking-tastic.
Exactly. We're definitely not. And, you know, We Dem Bros is the team that Flakes is playing on in the Renegade Cup in the Ember Series. They're doing really well as well under Flakes' sort of like banner. Like, they're up against Savage in the next semi-final, so I don't think they're going to go much further. But still, like, the fact that they're still in the top 4 out of all the teams in the Renegade Monthly, like, again, Flakes is a really good fucking player. To have him step up in this way, again, for Complexity, it's massive. For him, it's massive. I'm really excited about seeing Complexity at LAN next time. I'm really, and it's not something I was expecting to say in time for Leipzig, but I'm saying it right now. I really want to see how far this team can go. So we'll be able to see how that works up again in a couple of weeks' time when it comes around in February. They're not going to be on the WSOE stuff, so we have to wait until that point. And again, I hope they bring Flakes in again. I hope they can get his stuff sorted out for travel to Germany. But the other team that made it forward was Secret. We had Niels Cook stepping in for him. This was, again, another surprising result for me because it was a team I was like, right, I'm skeptical about this, especially when they had other squads that are in that lower bracket, like PSG, who just made his WSOE and had a ridiculous lower bracket run. Red Reserve, who, although they are missing their third, are still looking in relatively good form, just taking out the likes of Mouse Sports and PSG coming into that losers final match. You know, I was thinking to myself, like, okay, Secret, I'm not 100% convinced. And then they came up against Complexity, they lost against that, and then they moved in. and they looked really good. I mean, in the notes here, you put down that Niels Cook stepping in, like his pacing and ability to pass the freaky was a great addition. Obviously, I wasn't watching much of Secret.
This was
you
a
were the one
natural
casting
fit
it.
for him. This is what it was. So Niels' play style is that he'll continuously be a playmaker and setting up his opponent. But then when he's needed, he can just quickly snipe some shots really close to the net, you know, be that finisher where he just dives on in. And then he's got some really good pacing to be able to swap in the third. You've got Freaky, who plays just near enough all balls to the wall, a mindless ball chaser in a lot of sense, but that's good in this regard, you know, where he's playing a lot like how Pondex plays, you know, back on Excel, of you just got to get goals, keep pressuring your opponents. And then Flame, he's quiet. He is the quiet anchor player. So for me, this is a fantastic trio who fits so well, and it showed at the Dreamhack qualifier. It's almost like they've been playing together as a trio for years at this point, and this to me was the big upgrade that Secret needed. I'm so sorry that Tylacta had to go, but this has been the best change for them.
Yeah, I mean, you know, like it's a surprise to me. It's a surprise to me because like everyone was thinking to ourselves, right? Well, what's going to happen is Monks is going to move to Secret, and that would have been a really obvious. That would have been a really obvious way, a really obvious move for them to see how that goes. Again, Complexity looking in a very bad state, but now with their performances and of course Secret also making it through all the same, this could probably end up leading to the signing of Niels Cook and Flakes. The result of this qualifying, you know, it's no easy feat, and again, to do it in the upper bracket for so long, and then to just finish it off in the lower bracket against the likes of again Complexity, ARG, Red Reserve, not terrible. Again, fantastic from those guys. I'm again, it's another team. I'm really excited to see what Secret can do.
Bar Xenomoon and Complexity, Secret felt like they had an easy day. Vikings, they probably was their biggest challenge for some reason, where they had 2 OTs. ARG felt somewhat comfortable. It was close, but yep. I think there was like 1 OT in that. I'm just having a look. Yep, 1 OT. Xenomoon was a very, very close series as well. But against Red Reserve, they just held all the cards. And for me, Red Reserve, even though they had Casio added to them, they're the one that Secret needs to sort of like compare themselves to, because they're probably like the best sort of chance of this is what RLCS for us like we should be looking at next season, because there's some very similar like likings between the two, isn't there? So Secret,
yeah, and for Secret as well, that'll finally be a way back in. Finally, they'll be able to get into the RLCS. Like, holy shit, it's been so long and so many close calls that they haven't been able to get it done. Fucking finally for this squad. Again, with Niels Cook in this one, I'm excited to see what they can do again. You know, I'm really hyped to see what's going to happen from here on out. But you know, those are the 2 obvious teams we could talk about, and like, you know, just rain showers of just tears of joy all over them. There are some other teams that were also competing in this tournament. I'm not sure if you're aware. Flipside was one of them. And this is a bit of a weird one to weigh up, because there was a bit of a roster clusterfuck when it came to Flipside. And it started with them bringing in Speed on loan from Red Reserve. And that left Red Reserve without anybody. So what did they do? They went to go pick up Casio from Method. But Method were also competing in. So what did they do? They picked up Snatsky from the Vikings RX Fnatic side. And so the Vikings were competing. What were they going to do? They had to find Pondex in from the Schnoozers. So, like, fucking hell, man. Like, can I just, I don't even, all right, so just to start things off, before we get into Flipside themselves and how well they did, I don't know why Speed decided I'm going to go to Flipside. I'm not sure if there's like some sort of like business relationship between Flipside and Red Reserve, but for me, even as like, you know, a guy in the Red Reserve organization, why would I let this even become a possibility? Why would I let Speed go to play for another organization? Why would I let him do that? Because Red Reserve, they had something really solid going. And I think that honestly, if Speed was in the roster for this, then we wouldn't be singing our praises about Secret. We wouldn't be saying this is a brand new look. This is a brand new look team that could do lots of damage. I think Red Reserve could have 3-0'd all 3 of their teams on their way for the lower bracket. But because Speed made this move, because Flipside decided they're going to pick him up for this for the next month, like I think we went down a different path in history, you know?
Yeah, definitely. If Red Reserve still had Speed, one of the two spots could rightfully have been theirs. There was a big barrier just on the day, which is a little bit unusual, you know, that two RS teams were the strongest teams. That's an odd one, but Red Reserve would, I think, beaten Secret. I don't know about Complexity because they were fucking smashing it, but yeah, would have been a very strong contention against Secret and maybe just edged it out in the end. But I can't blame Speed. If he's been given the opportunity to go off to lands, you know, play alongside F3 and potentially maybe even like, you know, a pay rise from being transferred over, all that sort of stuff, you got to think it's him testing out the waters at other teams. But Red Reserve looked quite good with Casio, considering this was their first tournament as a group. It just, the whole scene's a clusterfuck at the moment because of a couple of changes, ain't it?
That's the thing, right? I put it down on the notes. It's a complete roster clusterfuck. It's what it really is, you know. Like we should not be seeing this many subs from teams that are playing in the same tournament. Like, you know, I think that because Casio subbed for Red Reserve, it ruined both teams' chances because Method got absolutely wrecked in the lower bracket, admittedly by flip side. So, you know, like so you know, they managed to find that much. They managed to, like, in a technical sense, weaken other teams so they could 3-0 them. But, you know, Method got knocked out very early on in the open qualifiers, and they had to go down through the lower bracket and qualify through that. So they already had lower chances coming in. And again, I feel like that wouldn't be the case if Casio was there because Method were looking so solid.
My big questions about this really is how the fuck was Casio allowed to play for Red Reserve actually? Because this, from looking at tweets, was a purely player decision, and he didn't tell the rest of his team that he was doing that until like he was signed up with them. How are Method allowing one of their players to go play for another org? Did they actually know, or did Casio just do this on the spur of the moment, you know, because he got asked? Because
well, I'm pretty sure, I will just interject to say, I'm pretty sure there are some legal ramifications if he did.
That's what I'm saying.
They're playing under contract.
That's what I'm saying. Like, did Casio not think about this, and is this something that's going on quietly in the back end? Because all the signups were very, very last minute, you know, for it all and that. And we saw the big announcement about Speed, you know, being moved on near enough straight after Yukio was, but nothing the other way, because maybe Method is just going to let it fly under the radar or whatever, but I can't imagine they were happy about that purely because their own team, the Method team, flopped massively because of it. Method could have gone really far if Casio was still on the roster instead of Snasky, who on the day sucked.
Well, based off of what I've heard through some now deleted DMs from a certain person in our Discord, Red Reserve did not know about this in the first place either. You know, like Red Reserve were very, very stunned, according to what I understand. Like, you know, so
I'd imagine this probably wasn't talked about with the team, but with the org if they're doing the loan. So Speed probably did it privately before going to his teammates, which is a little different, but it's still, you could say,
if that's the case, then fair enough. But even then, it's like, why, again, if I'm a Red Reserve management, I'd be saying, no, fuck this. You're really good and you're with a really good team. We're possibly top 4 in the world right now. So why should we let you go and compete in this qualifier when another team potentially boost them to the point and hinder our chances? Absolutely fuck that. Which is it's more of a problem in the general esports sense. It's the fact that esports organizations don't do business. Like, you know, that's right. Esports organizations don't do esports. They just do business. Sorry, is what the actual term I should be saying. But they should most certainly fucking, you know, just sit there and like, no.
Like I said earlier, for me, Red Reserve are probably looking at this and going, they don't have to pay Speed's wages for a month. Here, they'll sign something where...
dumb!
No, because they'll be at this WSOE event. Speed turns up in Red Reserve jersey and all that sort of shite, and they're going to probably be at LAN anyway. You got to think, a lot of these EU teams with orgs are going to be there anyhow. This was one of my big things about the Dreamhack Open qualifiers, is that, one, I don't think any of the teams that should have been seeded into the closed qualifiers, personally, and two, maybe we just completely bar the RLCS teams from it, because the prize of the open and then, of course, in turn, the closed qualifiers was 2 free trips to Leipzig. Complexity, if they wanted, have the money to pay it. Same for Secret. It's more for the Xenomoons and all of that, which would have no other way to get there. It's more about helping, like bringing through the smaller teams and acting more like a minor that would then get you into a major. For me here, I have no Red Reserve probably will compete. They could compete next month in the Dreamhack finals with Speed if they wanted, probably. Unless
But based off of
Flipside have signed him for it.
But based off of what you said to me is that they've got Speed on a month loan. That's
what it
say
seems,
they've officially got them on a month loan. So that means that would lead into the Dreamhack Leipzig LAN. That
if
would
they've
lead
got
into
it for
the
that
LAN.
long, yeah.
Yeah. So literally, why? Again, it does not make any sense to me. From Red Reserve's perspective, why throw away the chance to go to LAN? I understand the idea of, Jersey's going to be out WSOE. That's some great exposure, but you'd earn more by having the whole team represented and doing really well, because that way you can turn to the sponsors and be like, look, this is what our team has done. We are potentially one of the best in Rocket League. Now, let's renegotiate some new contract terms so we can get some more money so you can continue to support our operations and we can do well in Rocket League. Again, it doesn't make any sense to me.
Like I said, other than
the explanation of Speed moving up towards a much more a higher tier organization. Even then, I still have some problems with it because Red Reserve are already in the RLCS.
Yeah, the Red Reserve shouldn't be making a change at this point because they're pretty solid. But for me, it could just be a case of they haven't signed him off for that period. So his contract, like, when does Dreamhack go on? When is the finals? I'm quickly bringing it up. Did we say the 15th and 16th, was it? Yeah.
Yes.
Maybe Flipside have him up to the 12th officially on paper, and then Speed's back for the LAN finals, and they're just going to go along for it, and it won't hurt them at all because, they've got Speed out to fucking Vegas for this event. And like I said, that's then them being able to advertise Red Reserve at this event. It's weird. And if I would actually be a little bit more scared if I'm Speed at this point, because Casio is sniffing down his spot on Red Reserve. Speed with this roster move is probably in a bit of a shaky situation where both teams might be looking to not have him.
I'd agree, honestly, considering the way that Flipside sort of like bombed out against PSG, who also bombed out to Red Reserve in a weakened state. You got to imagine, like, I'm not sure, again, if based off what I'm hearing is true, there might be a bit of spite in the in the team right now. There might be a bit of like, well, fuck you, this is what we did better than you, sort of thing. I'm not saying that's the truth.
Well, from rumors, Red Reserve is on I'm speculating flip side, so
I'm speculating based off of rumors alone.
To go for it better for like a pay grade rise, which would put a bit of bitterness into his Red Reserve ex-teammates.
Exactly, and that's the thing I'm concerned about mostly, because as Trox says, this might completely destabilize both Red Reserve and Flipside. Because Flipside, it did not work out for this qualifier. Red Reserve now have to play with a sub in Casio. That might also destabilize Method as well, because Method felt the Flipside the same. You're not looking at the most advanced positions. You're not looking at the greatest of situations right now here in regards to how these roster moves have turned out. So I think this is a really, really stupid move from all parties involved. I think that for the most part, it is sort of facilitated out of necessity because of one move.
My big question as well is, how long has Flipside been looking at Speed? Because I'm assuming Speed is the one they want to replace, because they would have known about Yukio going a little while back. That scrub leak, about K-Dot going over to Vitality. You look back on it now, and it also hints that Yukio is going over to Dignitas, and in that tweet he says he doubts that the new Vitality is going to be able to top their new Dignitas, or the old Flipside's going to be able to top when he was on it. That was what the tweet was like if you look at it in hindsight. So, and Trox is saying apparently they're in talks in the middle of December. That then gave them a month up until now, or up until last weekend, to start looking at a new player to replace. And I know they were trying out with Arju and that didn't work. Were they trying out with him the whole time and just then decided on the spur of the moment, no, this ain't going to do well and we want Speed? There was the tweet from I just dropped something. There was the tweet from their coach/manager that said the new guy they're bringing in has got a perfect playstyle to fit over Yukio, which I personally think is Speed, because they've got very transferable skill sets, but they should have known that with the flip style playstyle, like we were saying earlier, they take a while to adjust.
Yeah, and that's my key thing right here is the fact that they've got to go all the way back for that whole process of trying to get speed back up to a level where it works for Flipside. And in the short term, I'm not sure whether that's going to work out well for Flipside at all. You know, again, they just lost one of their best players, in my opinion. They've just lost their star man essentially, and then they've got to go through the RLCS, try to avoid relegation for another season after they did so well at Worlds and everything. You know, like. Fuck, man, it's gotta suck to be Frost right there to see how the whole thing's gone down for him, and potentially it may even go even worse depending on if the whole speed thing falls through.
Because you got to think, I think it does. They qualified into WSOE with Yukio, and then he swaps the next next day. They're going to WSOE. I'm worried they're going to get smashed. This is what I'm saying. Like, this is the team I'm looking at most I'm most interested in, purely because if Speed can put on a good performance and they do well, thank the Lord. But the biggest problem is that they could bottom out. Like, they could be bottom 3, I would say, next season, the RLCS, if things don't get, sorted.
Exactly.
They could even drop.
That's my thing.
Cooks can't carry. Mystic is a solid connector player, Batman, but he's not going to win you games. And then that third man has to be pretty much as much of a strength on the pitch as Cooks it, arguably, which Yukio was, just in different aspects. You look at how their stats stack up against each other. Yukio had the biggest effect on that team. Yes, Cooks got the goals, and there were more like explosive short burst moments, but Yukio was the biggest consistent force in that roster, and they have got to replace near enough, arguably, half the team on one man, and that is a big, big ask.
Is a big, big ask. So, for Flipside, again, the future is very, very unclear for all of the rosters involved in this particular Flipside, Red Reserve Method, Vikings move,
etc., etc.,
etc., etc. Whoever else has been affected by this. So, again, a lot of eyes will be on Flipside at WSOE. There'll be a lot of eyes on Red Reserve. Probably, I imagine they'll probably end up signing up to DreamHack Leipzig anyway. And of course, a lot of eyes will be on both sides for the RLCS when we get to see them come up in a few months' time. So we'll see how that works out. But we'll keep going down the list of the other teams because there's still more teams we want to talk about. By the way, we spend so much time on this whole fucking move because that's how much of a shit show it really was, right? But let's talk about Mouse Sports for a little bit. You say they're finally reaching the expectations of a lower RLCS team. I say they're still doing quite disappointing in my eyes. Because in the upper bracket, they lost to Xeno Moon. Now, Xeno Moon did have a pretty good run overall. They did take down Flipside, and they did take 2 games off of Team Secret. But my question about that team are going to come to fruition in a little bit. Mouse Sports, still struggling against some other sides, though. Again, I still think they are very, very low, potentially relegation zone RLCS teams now that Fnatic and Fnatic and fucking what their names have gone now. What's the other team that got relegated? Fnatic and
Complexity.
Complexity. That's it. How did I forget Complexity?
Which is just they're awkward now because Complexity. It's looking like next season.
That's why. That's why, because Complexity are now looking good again. That's the problem. Yeah, but now that Fnatic now that Fnatic and Complexity are out. And Complexity are also looking hot shit going into the next season. They might even get another promotion chance. Now, Mouse Sports, I'm looking from like a low RLCS team to a relegation RLCS team in the grand scheme of things. And this tournament does not boost my own confidence into what they could do in the next season.
It's an interesting one because I definitely think they will be in a case of fighting to stay up. That's not a lie. I don't rate a lot massively as a player. I've said it before. Like, if they're looking for a captain, they should have gone with Pashi over him. That is simple as.
I can't get them, obviously. So,
but they're a borderline RLCS, RLRS team. That's where they're at. And beforehand, they were losing to your Northern and all of that lot. So this is finally them looking like a borderline team. I'm not saying they're the best team. I'm just saying that they're like, if you were to rate them world right now, I'd probably give them a solid 10, not in the world, sorry, in EU, somewhere between 9th to 12th sort of spot,
Okay,
I think that's a fair point. Their win against May Contain Nuts is what they should have done. May Contain Nuts got it really close, but then at the same time, May Contain Nuts lost to Method, and Method were playing dreadful with Snasky, really. So May contain nuts were crap on the day. Xenomoon was a close series. I think we got a cast that actually on the stream. But then Xenomoon were very close to Secret at the same time. The whole tournament was really, it's hard to work like caliber of teams against each other because everyone was so flip-floppy in style against each other. But Mouse are finally at the expected level. They can only improve, you know?
Yeah, well, now that you bring that up, there's a number of upsets that went throughout the course of this bracket, and a lot of ones there's one in particular we're gonna bring up in a little bit. But you know, there's a lot of like, you know, teams that fell down in like the first round or second round of the losers bracket. It's like, well, shit, how the hell did this happen? You know, like how the fuck did we see this squad fall to pieces?
Can we jump one and then come back to the one? Like, can we jump to 6 on our list and then come back to 5?
Yeah,
because that point works so well.
Let's just get the fucking the big disappointment out of the way.
The elephant.
Savage. Holy crap! What the hell happened here?
Literally, in the first game, MCon shattered them, and then the big sack Mandem in the second game sacked them. It was so. I don't know if they're playing with a sub today, but they should have just not shown up. It was that bad.
Yeah, like, fuck, man. MCon had a close 4-game series against them. 3-2, 3-2, 3-2, then 3-1. The fact you get 2 goals over Savage any fucking day when you're MCon of all people, like, holy shit. Holy shit. Like, that's like Dignitas at Worlds level of choke right there. Like, that's insane. Like, I'm absolutely stunned. The big thing about it as well is that when me and Crafters were getting onto my stream and we're going to cover the first round of brackets, I was like, do you know what? MCon versus the Big Sack Mandem might be a fun little matchup. And then Savage gets relegated, drops down. And we thought to ourselves, okay, that was very unexpected. And now this match is not going to be any good at all. And then we come back to it later and we realize it's actually gone down. We were puzzled. It was like, there's no fucking way this is right. Someone's reported the score wrong. Like, there's no. Smash has messed up again. Like, there's no possible way this happened. But it did. And again, how is this even a thing right now? Like, this outlines. This outlines probably the worst situation that Savage could possibly be at. And again, we're taking a look at this team saying they're really gonna get clapped in the RLCS unless they can make some.
They're too overconfident. It's the biggest problem. Like, they've been spending too much time playing Fortnite, it seems. You know, because they just do. They think they can just go anywhere and play anything at any time and just come out on top. It was to the point of. I think they were asking, I can't remember who it was, but someone from the Savage side was asking, like, what monitors they would use at LAN. And you just, they're like, one, slow the fuck down,
That was Roken, actually. No, I didn't remember that was Roken because he put that. I remember seeing that in the Discord. Yeah.
Ouch. So, okay, for one, it's always going to be your 144 hertz one because they're sponsored by ASUS and all of that shit. So you always get the top of the line at LANs, don't you? And 2, just hold on, look at this shit beforehand. Don't try and get too far ahead of yourself because, again, the community then looks at you in this light. And me, like I'm saying now, I'm going, your priorities in the wrong place. You're too overconfident. You've got to be at your level. You don't even have an org yet because the orgs are unsure on you. You've got to prove yourself before you can be cockiness. TSM at the moment, if they were like that, I'd be like, fair fucking enough. Dignitas, fair fucking enough. Because you have won everything under the sun for a good while now, you know?
Again, like, I think you put it right when you put this point down. It's like, Savage played. I didn't even know when they were there, that they were there. It's like...
Did they even get on a stream?
Yeah, they didn't even get the chance to get on stream. Literally, we were saying we'll keep Savage for later because they'll probably end up somewhere in the latter part of the lower bracket or, you know, in the semi-finals at a push. You know, like we were looking at it's like, you know, maybe they might fall to Red Reserve, but yeah, EmberCon, just again, I just can't wrap my head around the fact that this is a result for Savage. But again, I hope this is a kick up the arse. I hope this is something that they can take back on board and stop being so confident about things because you are not the best team in the world right now, guys. Like, again, we've been saying it for ages. Me and Bacon cannot see how you guys can be the best in the world in your current line of form. Again, we think that there are changes that need to be made. You know,
they're definitely, like I said earlier, the borderline sort of states because they can smash RLRS, but that's purely because they've got that attacking style. When they come up against RLCS, where teams can actually really solidly defend.
I mean, just to interject real quick. just to interject real quick, obviously, like we were talking about RLCS teams, but even the bubble scene teams are now holding a bit of a candle to them. Fucking MCon!
Yeah.
MCon! My God.
Don't get me wrong, MCon, I reckon, will get an RLRS next season, but again, they're getting into RLRS. You're now in RLCS. That should be a massive jump. And MCon just completely shut them down. And good for the MCon lads. Hopefully they don't get too cocky now.
No, they won't get too cocky because they fell to red reserve and then to flip side immediately afterwards. So they certainly had an overperformance. I think they can agree on that much at the very least. They probably might not have made it past the losers round 1 anyway against the big sack Mandem. So MCon are always a humble team anyway. I can't see them being overconfident about that. But
MCon's a bit of a controversy because they always get. Well, I don't know anything for sure, but you always see them getting shout out for being boosters and all of that sort of shit. So I don't know, but they're probably used to taking a bit of abuse.
I don't know how much of that is true, to be honest. So
exactly.
I'm not going to entertain that.
All I see is just what you get in Twitch chat from that, and hopefully it's not true. But even if it isn't, if they're getting called boosters, and they're probably knocked down a peg or two anyway, or whatever, because and. Trox in chat just saying the players are toxic. It's probably because they're used to that culture. I've
never seen that much.
My only encounter, I think, was back in Neon Dream or whatever, and it was just more teams there going, they're not rearranging with us. And I'm like, well, that's your fault. Under the rules, we don't have to make them rearrange purely because you can't realistically. They were saying that the dates that the other team could do wouldn't work with them, and so they're under the rights not to rearrange. So they got the DQ win, which is fair. That's the only encounter I've ever had with them.
All right, well, we're getting sidetracked now. I mean, we're talking about Savage for a second, and we move on to MCon, but we actually have a few more teams you have to talk about. Yep. So we're basically out of time, so let's try to see if we can boost through this real quick.
Awesome.
Boost through this, fucking hell. Vitality is the next squad we wanted to talk about. Now, the first thing you put down here is about Greg and talking about the scrims. Can I just say something? Can we get it out of the Rocket League fans' heads that scrims matter, right? Like, from my experience and from what I understand about esports as a whole, scrims are there for practice and learning. It's not about whether you win a scrim. It's not about whether you can go close against a team on a scrim. Can you do that in the official? Well, it doesn't fucking matter. Scrims don't mean shit. Scrims are about practicing new strategies and learning. If you get a 6-0 against one of the best teams in the world, there's a good shout that they were trying something new. They were trying a different passing play, or a different default setup, or a different, a different approach to the game as a whole. Different camera settings, different dead zones, different anything, right? Just to see if it might work at a professional level. That's the point of what a scrim is supposed to be about. So why people constantly go, oh, we did this good at scrims, and everyone was like, bullshit, liar, everything like that, Like I only halfway put the blame on Gregan because Gregan did bring that up in the Twitch sort of like a thing, but even he was the one who said, look, that doesn't always translate to what actually goes down in the server at an official thing, and that's the thing that people don't understand, right? A scrim is not about winning; it's about learning, it's about practicing, it's about trying not only trying to break through new strategies and new tactics and new playstyles and new metas in Rocket League, but also to try and find a way to win, to win, or to break into the minds and the playstyle of your opponents and trying to win in the officials from that knowledge that you've gained in the scrim. That is the point of a scrim. Can we stop using that as a fucking measuring stick? Because it is really annoying. It is really annoying. Really, really, really annoying.
And
just Frostbite saying it right there. You do well at a scrim when you improve, not when you win. Winning doesn't mean shit.
Yeah, I just love as well the memes coming out of it. Like back when Scrub was there on Vitality saying, my goal was not to lose to PSG in 2019, and it's been twice in the first 20 days that he's lost to PSG, and it's going to become a big running thing, which is the strongest French org. Vitality are hurting at the moment. Hopefully they can improve, but they don't seem to have the results. I mean, that PSG versus Vitality match, 3-1, 3-1, 1-0, but PSG looked comfortable throughout the whole of it.
Yeah, they did. You know, they really did. Like, you know, and it is quite a surprise, to say the least. Quite a surprise again to see this is how the Red Knight Vitality side have collapsed. Essentially, I hope for the best. I hope for good things. Unfortunately, they haven't quite proved that as of yet. And again, PSG, they have been known to be monsters online. I'm not sure whether that would have been a repeat result on LAN, but we're probably never going to see Red Knight Vitality on LAN at this stage because of the way that this whole squad is going.
That's a low blow there, mate.
my faith has not 100% been restored in this last tournament. You know, we looked at WSCU, was like, okay, K-Dub's got a bit of potential in this squad, and then they get knocked out in the first round again.
Hey,
ARG.
let's just hope that
ARG
they both get put into the same sort of like pool of the 24 players, the team, sorry, that can sign up. Let's hope they get put into the same group for Dreamhack, because I'm pretty sure both orgs will send their teams along. You know, it's not a big flight out, and they both got the money to send them to Leipzig. So let's just hope that they get put into the same org and just battle it out. If Vitality get their revenge and knock PSG from going any further, that'd be fantastic. But at the same time, PSG taking Vitality again, it's just like Vitality is
let
getting
the memes rain down upon the scrub killer. Just Jesus Christ!
I just want this rivalry to continue forever, really.
Just as a general point on Vitality's performance in this bracket, like, they struggled so hard. They struggled harder than I'd say they struggled harder than Method. So at least
they lost to ARG.
Yeah, at least Method lost to really big teams. Ouch. They lost to ARG. They struggled in a 3-2 series against Equilibriatas, which is a team I still don't even know how to fucking pronounce their name. 3-2 to the Vikings, who admittedly are a relatively decent team, but I wouldn't say that they should be competing at the level that Vitality were. And then 3-0 against PSG. Like, what do you need to do to get this team back up to a decent level again, man?
Yeah, I'm looking at Equilibriatas right now. Finex, Jonas, and Kavari. I'd expect them to be playing in Rivals $500 EU thing coming up next month, and like going pretty far in that. Don't get me wrong, but that's purely because the biggest teams don't care. The RLCS teams they would prefer the scrim instead take place in that, you know. And that is why they're a back end of the bubble, more community scene team, and you're getting that darn close. I don't know what you're doing in your scrims, Vitality, but if you're winning them, you're probably doing something wrong at this point, because the other teams are working other things out and using you as a tool. You're not a tool. You should be winning. Like in the actual competitions, not in the scrims. Yeah, they're not focusing. They're going with the box standards.
6-0.
They're not focusing on the right things. Like, I know Gregan, as part of it, isn't a coach to the team. He's just a manager.
He should be at this stage. Like, fuck me. Like,
or they need to hire in someone to coach them, because they clearly can't sort it out them bloody selves.
Exactly. Like, you know, I think, honestly, if Gregan changed from being manager to manager/coach and then, like, focused on helping that team and trying to zone out, like, you know, here's the thing, right? He already stands behind them in the Elite Series. Wouldn't it just be great if in that 60 seconds he interjects, like, look, this is what you're doing wrong, right, guys? Like, just like, I want to see a moment, right? Now, we were talking about this in the pub last night, me and a few mates. We're talking about the Olaf boost from Counter-Strike. I'm sure you know about it. And we're talking about this one moment where LDLC were trying to figure out what they were doing. So what they did was they took off their headsets on a tactical pause, all gathered around the in-game leader in the middle of the table. And it was this beautiful moment, a beautiful piece of scenery. Honestly, I'd love to see that from a team who are like 3-0 down in the best of 7. It's just like the coach calls them in, just like, look, huddle in. We've got 60 seconds. This is what we need to do. Come on, let's focus. Let's get this shit together. I think that would be something very beautiful to see in something like the Elite Series of the RLCS LAN. You know, I think coaches still have a long way to go. And honestly, I think that with Gregan and Vitality doing as well as they could do, I think if Gregan was the coach, I think that could be another watershed moment for Rocket League right there in the role of coaches overall. Again, I feel like it might be the only way out for this squad at this stage. You know, they brought in world-class talents. They already had world-class talents. What more do you need to do to make Reno Vitality world beaters? I don't know anymore.
Right.
Tractor. Sorry, Tractor's just said the only man you need is Esports Murphy, who's a very lovely fella. Let's put it that way.
He can moderate a tournament, but I don't see him coaching Vitality anytime soon.
That being said, wasn't it? That being said, though, wasn't it him that won the show match at the last Epic Land? Or was that Spicy J? No, it was Spicy J, scratch that. Spicy J won a 1 versus 4 show match in best of 3 format in at the Epic Land tournament. It was fucking amazing. But no. Yeah, but yes, again, Vitality, they need some changes. I think they need to make a drastic change. Not in players. I'm not saying anything like that. Again, I think the team could work well. They just need to change something in the way that the team is some sort of operational thing in the team. In my opinion.
Agreed. Easily the choice. Like I honestly, from looking at how they play, because they haven't changed from WSOE really, they probably don't go over their replays, which for me is yikes. Because you should be pretty much scrimming as much as you go over replays. Really, it should be a 50-50. Maybe even going over your replays more often and analyzing them. You know?
Well, that's a common thing that coaches do. Coaches often, when they're not with the team, their downtime, the preparation work is going through demos and going through replays and looking at things like, right, well, why did we lose to this goal? Why did we lose to this offensive play? Because this player made a mistake over here. Maybe there's a reason for that because, you know, he was forced out of position. Maybe he wasn't reading the play correctly. So maybe I have to sit down with that player and say, like, look, this is how you need to try and structure yourself around this. This is the reason why we lost this. And going over those, not only going through reviews with your players, but also reviewing it yourself and presenting that to the players so you can, as a collective team, come up with a way where you won't make that mistake again, or recognize some potential in an underdeveloped play and develop it some more to the point where it can become new meta. You know, that's the reason why the backboard was such a massive thing in the Flipside era. And the Dignitas and Gale Force era for that matter. You know, that's the kind of stuff that will push the boundaries of Rocket League.
Yeah, definitely agreed. So we've gone over the org teams or the big teams, considering Savage doesn't have an org. But Jay, we've got 2 more orgless teams, which we just want to highlight. It's like the big, well done in this tournament, don't we?
Yes, and the first one is Xeno Moon. You may have noticed that slight oddity in the lower bracket in that who the fuck is Xeno Moon here in the losers round 5 up against PSG, somehow coming in from the semi-finals after going 3-2 against Secret. Well, Xeno Moon themselves, they are the likes of Zensus, Moon Monkey, and Noyalistic. So I think, Bacon, you got a bit more knowledge on this team than I have. So I'm going to let you go through this one.
Yeah, so they're a new team. Zenzus, the only really reputable player on that roster, is Calno's back in the day of RLCS, and then sort of went off into a bit of obscurity. But he's sort of come back with Monkey Moon, who I heard was something like the best Xbox player or some shit. Just moved over to the PC, and Nolistic, who has been around the community sort of bubble scene for ages. Not really even to the bubble scene, I'd say. He's been on some good rosters, but not anything where you'd expect him here. And it just fucking worked. The one thing that triggered me actually is on the stream, I was there Zenzus is the only player of note, and he's sort of gone away and brought in these 2 unknown quantities. And I was getting talked shit on because Monkey Moon's really good at ones or something. And it's been on Johnny Boy's stream. I'm like, yeah, that's fucking ones. This is Freeze. This is Dreamhack. And he's not even taken part in the rival 3v3s. Haven't seen him in any of the Renegade Cups. And he comes along to Dreamhack and does this. That is an unknown quantity, and he has fucking smashed it. Monkey Moon, actually the most impressive player on that roster, and is one I'm going to be looking out for, literally through sign-up sheets and keeping an eye out for, because I'm interested to see how it goes. And actually, these 3 should stick together. I'd love to see them further down the line.
Well, that's the thing that I came into. That's the first thing that I sort of questioned when we came to do the notes for this show. I was like, right, well, Xeno Moon, is great them being together for this tournament, but oftentimes when you have a mixed team, when you have a pug team, when you have a team that comes in unsponsored in a tournament, oftentimes they won't stick together past that tournament, even when they overperform in a massive sort of way that Xeno Moon have. We were just talking about it a moment ago. Not even the teams that are under contract, not even the players that are under contract are safe for moving about fucking rosters. Yeah, I know, and potentially might even be in breach of that contract. We don't even know if those guys are safe. So with Xeno Moon, the question really is that are they going to stick together past DreamHack? Are they going to potentially go ahead and book tickets to Leipzig? Are they going to try and compete in the LAN itself? Are they going to try and compete along more
I
online
can't imagine
tournaments?
Leipzig because it's a big cost because they're like Swedish
Sure.
guys. Let me just quickly bring up the roster. So they've got Monkey Moon's French, Zenzus is Swedish, and Nolly is English. So yeah, that's quite a bit of a shell out on tickets and all of that to get across to there. But RLRS coming up, just stick together for that. If you play like you did in this tournament, fuck me, you're easily into RLRS, you know?
Yeah, and again, it's just I'm encouraging them to do that, but the question is, will they actually do that? I mean, time will overall tell. We can only
Could just be a
speculate
flash
at
in
that
the
point.
pan, couldn't it? That's the problem.
It could be a flash in the pan, and there's that idea as well. Is this just an overperformance from them from one day, or is it something they can represent re-up consistently? Again, if they stuck together at the RLRS qualifiers and we saw what they could do at the RLRS qualifiers, then potentially, what's up?
One result I have just seen against Flipside, because it was a 3-1, 2-0 to Xenomoon, 2-1 to Xenomoon, 8-2 to Flipside. This wasn't a stream match, and then 3-2 to Xenomoon. What the fuck happened in that one game? Like, oh, Jesus. You know? But the rest of the tournament, they played so fucking good. A lot of the games were close, but don't get me wrong, you were close to Mouse Sports, you were close to Secret. They were even relatively close to PSG. There was 2 overtimes in that one. So it's all promising for them, isn't it, really?
Well, I mean, I'm not really sure where Zenzus. I'm not really sure. I'm not sure about the history of Zenzus, Monkey Moon, and Noelistic. I'm not sure whether they played together on a team before, whether they've been part of an official squad together, or whether they just formed for this team. Because it seems like they just formed for this one qualifier, see how well they did. And obviously, you're going to have some massive, some pretty big lines and gaps in the defense.
Well, to point that out, just for a second,
were able to adjust
the other two don't even have a Liquipedia page because they haven't got any results of mention. And Zenzeus's last results were in Christ. We're talking RLRS
ages ago, Cow Nose days,
Zebra Nose,
level,
the evolution of Cow Nose when they came down from RLCS, and he was still on XL. He was in season 4 in XL of RLCS, and then they dropped, and he got dropped as well for Marky, replacing him. To which he went over and created this new team, Zebra Nose. So, and that was a year ago. And that Zebranos was a good team. That was with Nexo and Mount. And we know Nexo, being the current sub for Vitality, and Mount just hanging about the scene doing what he does. But Zenzus just completely dropped off the radar for a while. It was weird.
Yeah, exactly. And it's nice to see him come forward and do some good work, obviously. But again, I question the longevity of this squad. That's the main thing. Again, time will tell how well it does. But again, I'm hoping that they stick together. I'm not holding my breath on that front, though. So, last team we want to highlight is Big Sack Mandem, or the Big Sack Mandem. I called them Big Sack Mandem because it didn't fit into my Twitch title or into my little Rocket League overlay. But this is Breezy Jr. and Marky Doodah, for those of you who don't know who they are. They looked pretty good, honestly. It was a bit of a case of, well, I mean, how far can they really go? Because they were coming in from the lower bracket anyway, because they came from the lower bracket, the open qualifiers as well. But they looked fucking good. Again, Junior and Breezy, I think, are really, really big players. And I think that there's a possibility that they could have gone very, very far in this tournament with some certain circumstances. But just to highlight their sort of achievements, obviously they had that 3-1 result against Savage, which was insane. 3-2 against To Be Honest, which was also a very, very close matchup that I had the fortunate pleasure of casting alongside Crafters on my channel. And let me tell you, mate, we loved that match to bits. It was one of the best matches of the entire day. So having them come forward and do that, again, beautiful, absolutely well done from the To Be Honest side. From the Big Sack Mandem side, to be able to man up against To Be Honest, who have already, I've said before, had their problems in the Renegade Cups and stuff. And Renegade Cup monthlies, I should say. And also a couple of different highlight plays, which I think actually one just made it to Twitter right now, if I recall correctly. I just saw Rocket Daily's post something and tagged me in it. So I'm not sure if it was that play. It would look like it was. But either way, some very, very flashy players coming through across the board from the Big Sack Mandem. And again, Junior was doing insane. He was scoring 0 angles. Breezy was doing insane. Junior was setting him up to score some crazy angles. My problem, however, and I hate to rag on the guy after we've already shit on him for XL's run, has to be Marky, man. Like, Marky just looked terrible.
We had a little word about it earlier, and it was like every single shot he was set up for, just he completely skied it or went wide. It didn't. Yeah, just he got carried in this tournament. Breezy and Junior were popping off. Like, if you're playing FIFA, these two lads would be down as like the next wonder kids. Like exponential growth, all that sort of shit. And they can. I hope that an RLRS team will be formed next season with either of them. Breezy, I could even see, like, if with a good, like, lucky run, he could even get picked up by an RLCS team. Don't think it would happen because, he's got nothing really backing him, but he's at a quality where he could do it. He just has to have, like, 2 veterans beside him that can hold his nerves. But Marky is not the right fit. I've even put in notes. What they need to do is a Savage, right? And just have 3 strikers. Because Breezy and Junior are strikers. Fucking throw Bilbo in there and they will wreck everyone's shit up. No one in RLRS can defend well enough to be able to handle an all-out onslaught.
Yeah, I think the problem with that is that it will only work as far as the RLRS, in the same sort of way that Savage are struggling right now in the qualifiers and possibly going to struggle during the course of the RLCS. Again, we'll have to see how that plays out later on down the line. I think that for the moment, it just doesn't look like a quick getaway chance to boost yourself back into boost yourself up into international relevance. It's good. What's up?
Breaking news.
LAN signups.
Yep, LAN signups for Dreamhack Pro Circuit have gone live.
Of course, Dreamhack is going to announce something in the middle of this podcast. Like, for fuck's sake.
I love it.
Happens every time.
You see, the reason, guys at home, the reason why this podcast is going over 2 hours is because we're actually waiting for the breaking news to come through. We're like, oh, no one's done it yet. We've got to hold off, and there we go. We know we can end the stream sometime soon because we're getting right to the fucking end of it. But this does mean that by next week, we should, and I'm saying should because there's only 24 spots, know every single team that is going to be at Dreamhack, which is good.
Yes, we should. So
this is going to be a mad fucking scramble, by the way, for those spots.
It will be a mad scramble. The event the LAN signups for the event go live at Wednesday at 21 CET, which will be the middle of the Renegade monthly Renegade Cup monthly broadcast, I think. 20 Yeah, actually, really? No, yeah, it will be. It will be, actually, yes. So, yeah, it'll be in the middle of that. So, Lord help you if you are fucking competing at that point. I do apologize, but there's nothing that I can do about that. Especially if you're Savage, who are competing in the semifinals of that one. So, let's see how that rolls. Let's see how that again, it'll be a mad scramble for that one. Maybe Big Sack Manda might turn up. Maybe they might just go ahead and pick up Bilbo. You never know. I mean, Bilbo, the only thing he has to commit to is Biltradam right now. That's it. As soon as he can do that, he gets through the Renegade Monthly, gets through the Ember Series, gets through the finals, and then he can go his own separate ways. I don't think he'll be sticking around with Sebadam. I don't think. Again, I feel like that roster has checked itself out. So Bilbo's on the market. I think, again, I agree with you. As a short-term boost, as a short-term chance, this is the way that Big Sack Manda move forward.
I'm just looking at the actual event as well, and I can't see anywhere that you can register yet.
No, again, really it opens at Wednesday.
Wednesday at 8 p.m. GMT is when it's going to open.
Exactly.
All right.
All right then.
So, oh, you know what? On Wednesday, you're going to be there casting Ember, and I'm just going to be sitting here with Ember on one screen, and on the opposite side, just looking at the signups roll on in because 24
just like live tweeting, like Fnatic, ex-Fnatic have signed up. Savage are signed up.
That would be
They're going to get clapped.
They've got to pay for themselves. But literally every single team, because I reckon those signups, they could be done. Because remember, people going along just to play for fun in that as well. They could be done and dusted. You've got all 24 teams within an hour and a half, maybe.
I mean, I'd say possibly less than that, considering how valuable those spots are. So,
I'm wondering if, like, your, let's just say, flip side or whatever. I don't know who's the invited teams. I had that on one sheet a second ago. I'm just popping it back
for Leipzig.
Yeah, so Leipzig was TSM. So NRG, Cloud9, Dignitas, TSM,
Complexity. Oh, no, not
Complexity qualified with Secret, and Bread qualified with Ghost over in NA. But I could see Flipside literally having to give them a call right now and being there like, can you fucking secure us a spot? Because, you know, we're too incompetent, really, because players are dumb and we can't click a single button when we're meant to. That's pretty much it. I'm being very exaggerated, but that just seems to be it. And I wouldn't be surprised if we get some BS from a couple of players being there like, oh, we couldn't sign up because there's not enough spaces. And you're like, just turn up when you're meant to. Like, come on. It's not hard.
Exactly. Well,
I believe in you. You can do it.
I have faith. Just kidding. I don't.
Oh, yeah. No, we have no faith.
Right, well, enough ragging on the players. It's currently 7 o'clock GMT, a little over 7 o'clock GMT as of recording this.
I've got to go down.
That means we've run over again, Bacon. We lied. We said the track to this one will not run over this time, and fucking that's exactly what happened. It ran over.
He's got to get a train home, don't he?
He's got to go. He's got to go to Birmingham in a minute. So we're gonna get out of here so he can actually. He's leaving in half an hour. So why don't we end the show? So. Thanks again for watching, ladies and gents. Again, we appreciate all the support from watching in the live shows and, of course, on the podcasts and the audio version of the podcast and the video version on YouTube. Be sure to follow the Twitter at RLAfterShock and the Twitch at twitch.tv/RLAfterShock to get all the information and all the latest from the EU Rocket League scene through our special little news feed. We're going to start upping up our Twitters. And also be sure to join the Discord with an ! Discord if you're in the chat right now, or through the show notes, the link in the show notes, or the descriptions of the audio and video versions of the podcast. You want to get interested in that, actually, because we've got some really big plans coming up. I teased it a little at the start of the year. They're starting to come back into fruition right now. We've really got some good stuff going. We've got a little bit of a plan set out already. So make sure you want to be in for that one. Trust me on that one. And of course, this podcast is also available on iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and most other major podcast distributors. You can go to anchor.fm/RLAftershock to find or request your favorite platform and listen anytime, anywhere. Bacon, last thoughts before we head out for another week?
Just that I'm so fucking hyped for Epic Land coming up. Like, I'm starting to write up like content ideas. You know, like, can we get like the Rocket League players that come along just like have a dance off? I think that'd be fucking fantastic. We're getting to the real shit.
J 1 versus 4 level of show match. Because legit, it was so epic, Bacon. If you've not seen that VOD, go back and watch that VOD on Epic Land 4. It is insane, absolutely insane. It is. No, it's still there. It's still there. I'm pretty sure it's still there. If not, I will
post a link in the Aftershock Discord for everyone to see.
Yeah, I'll post something in there. I'll see if I can find it. But yeah, again, make sure you tune into that and make sure you follow everything as I just said. We'll be back. We might not be back next week, actually, depending on things. So again, you want to keep an eye on that Twitter. You want to find out what's going on that. I've got work, essentially. It's the short and thick of that. So we might have a podcast next week. If not, I will try and fit something in, or we'll have another extra long show on the Monday after that. But again, we'll figure that out, and we'll try and make sure we can actually solidly define everything and try not to drag Tractor into something and miss his train. So once again, thank you very much for listening. I've been Switchblade J. Tractor's been our guy pushing the buttons, and Digital Bacon has been my all-important analyst that keeps me right when I am wrong. And again, we'll see you back here for even more very soon of the Aftershock.